G'day everyone, how are we? Wow, what a morning this morning. It's all happening. It is all happening. Hope you're well. Hey, just before I get going, I've got to go into another screen. Notify me. Turn that down. I had to open up StreamYard on one page, which is I'm on now, and then open up YouTube on another page when I went live, so I can do some questions and polls and that today, guys. So hopefully we got some questions and polls going on. Hey, big news today. Let me know if you can hear me. Marky Lavelle, can you hear me and see me okay, please, mate? Just do a comms check with everyone and we'll get straight into it, eh? I won't do so many shout-outs because there's a lot of news to cover this morning. Pump Koala, g'day, Toddy, how are you? Ty Fenwick, g'day, Ty. Yeah, so 5v5s, thanks, Margie. Good on you. Hey, Ty, we'll talk about a little bit later on, mate. Talk about the new Ford Everest Tremor. I saw your clip. There's a million of them coming out now. It looks like it was just a big, here's one Ford Tremor, and everyone gets like half an hour in it or something to drive it around and do their clip. So anyway, it's a nice looking vehicle, mate, except for that bull bar. It looks shite. Hey, Brad Howell's on. G'day, Brad. How are you? Hope you're merry or well. Now, listen, we'll go straight into it, everyone. Listen, you know, this morning we're going to be talking about world issues and what's happening overseas and all that, but we're not going to do that. So if you've come on this morning just to come on and have your say, that's going to be later on because there's more important stuff going on at the moment. And we're talking about some of our mates in the community are flooding as we speak. So I need to talk about that. So I'll put a link up in a minute, everyone. So if you are in the flood zones and that, we can talk about the floods and the cyclone. Cyclone Alfred is still around, guys. He's not a cyclone anymore, but he's still doing a lot of damage. And it's heavy rain has hit Harvey Bay. And only 15 minutes ago, I was on the phone to Terry G, guys, and Terry's that far, literally that far, millimeters from having water coming through his house. I spoke to Jason Hogan, guys, Jace Crazy Dog. Crazy Dog is currently out in his backyard trying to move rocks and that because his house is about to go under and he's about to get water through his house. He said, I've got about 50 mil, mate, and she's coming in. Terry's is right at his doorstep as we speak. Chrissy Anderson, guys, the nomadic Yowie. Apparently Chrissy's house is already under. Jace's wife, Chrissy, her mum had to be rescued down around Elizabeth Street. Jack Turtle, down at Urangan, mate. Jack said he's okay. How are you doing, Jack? I hope everything's okay with you and Mayo, mate. Yeah, Chrissy's in Scarness. He's under, apparently. Terry and Crazy Dog are almost under. And as I said, Chrissy's mum had to be evacuated from her house this morning. She got flooded in and had to be rescued. So there is a lot of rain coming in at Harvey Bay at the moment. If you look at the rain band, it's like a big semicircle, and the heaviest is sitting right over Harvey Bay at the moment. Just when we thought Harvey Bay had dodged the bullet, guys, they are getting smacked. And Jason reckons they've had, just in a couple of hours, about 8 or 9 inches of rain just in a couple of hours, and it is flooding. Torquay Road is under at Tackle World. Dean O'Connor is saying, g'day, Dean, how are you? Another one down in Harvey Bay. As I said, we got a heap of Harvey Bayites, guys, in the community. So we hope you're all going okay, guys. So that whole Boat Harbour Drive down there, down towards Pyalba and whatever, that is underwater. Wow. Jason just went for a drive early this morning, and he said there are so many businesses on the Esplanade in Harvey Bay with squeegees and mops trying to keep the water out of their shops. And we know how, if you've been to Harvey Bay, you know how low-lying the Esplanade is there near the beach. So, yeah, Harvey Bay is getting smacked at the moment. And Troy Berg saying not even getting a drop in Maryborough. Well, there you go. Maryborough is only half an hour away, and Troy's saying Maryborough is not getting a drop and Harvey Bay is flooding. Incredible. Ross Halliwell from a very wet Cleveland. G'day, Ross. Yes, the Redland Bay area. And you're not out of it yet, mate. They reckon there's a lot more rain coming in the Redland Bay area. Mum and Dad used to live at Birkdale, mate, so I know that part of Brisbane pretty well. Rob Richmond's out that way too, Wynnum West or something. So that all those Moreton Bay suburbs are in for a drenching. And they reckon Brisbane, hang on, because this rain's not going anywhere until at least tomorrow afternoon when it starts clearing out. Steve Fuller's on. How is the weather in Kingaroy, Steve? Now, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, everyone, is paste the link up. I've just posted a link up. If you're in, guys, if you want to talk about Donald Trump and Ukraine, like, this isn't the time to do it. We're going to do that later on. You'll get to come on. This is just so anyone in the flood zone, they've lost power. Jason hasn't got power at Harvey Bay. He's lost power. There's 330,000 people without power around the Brisbane area at the moment, guys. So there's a lot of people probably won't even be able to watch this. So I've put the link up there, I think. Yeah, there it is. Can I pin that? Show. There it is there. If you can find that in the comments. Guys, if you're in Harvey Bay at the moment and you want to come on and give us a quick update, please do so. If you're there and you've got your phone, you can come on your phone and give us a bit of a look at what's going on at the moment. Maybe Terry can come on his phone and show us what his backyard looks like. But he is about to go underwater, everyone. What did Dean say? Morning, Russie Doog. How are you, mate? Dean, it just moves every time I go to read your comment, mate. All good. All right, so Dean's up high in Dundowran, which is just outside Harvey Bay, really windy. Yep. As said, the wind was never going to be an issue here, even though it has been, guys. Don't get me wrong. We'll talk about the cyclone soon. But from day one, the rain was always going to be the biggest danger. Cast your mind back to the start of last year. I was wondering why the aircon wasn't working real well. Still had the window open. What a diddly-donk. So, you know, Cyclone Jasper crossed Cairns as a Category 1 at the start of last year. It wasn't the wind and that. There was nothing. Cat 1, take that any day. It was the rain, guys. It washed highways away. It bloody washed mountains away. It was incredible. The damage. The Palmerston Highway here got washed away and was closed for 6 months. And up around Cape Tribulation and that massive landslides and that, all from the rain. That's what you guys are going through now. The rain on a Cat 1 and a big tropical low, it's the rain. And our mates down at Lismore in northern New South Wales, Grant Saywell and Susie Elcome, guys, there's about 300 people in a shelter. What do they call it? A disaster shelter that have in the low-lying parts of Lismore. So Lismore is flooding again. Luckily, I just heard on the news, everyone, the river is going down. It's subsiding, and Lismore's going to dodge a bullet as far as the whole main part of town going underwater like it did twice a couple of years ago. Lismore, poor buggers down there. So those in low-lying areas of Lismore and Coffs Harbour and that apparently have been flooded as well. Nicole Kay, g'day, how are you? Nicole's in Tingalpa. But may as well say Manly West, or I'm near the thing. How are you going, Nicole, for flooding there at Tingalpa? How's everything there? Give us a quick update if you can. As I said, hey, Lukey, down in Tassie. How's the weather in Tassie, mate? I bet it's not as mad as... Jack Turtle's on, everyone. Jack might be able to give us a quick update from Jack's in Harvey Bay. G'day, Jack. How are you, mate?
Not too bad. We can't complain. Holy Moses, what a water. In less than 4 hours, 400 mil.
Holy dooly, 400 mil.
In 4 hours.
That's 16 inches. 16 inches of rain in 4 hours, Jack.
Yeah. It started at 5 o'clock this morning here. Real bad. And, oh, sorry. And, it slows down on the moment. But then 5 minutes later, it belts down again.
How's your house? I've been to your house a couple of times. Jack, is your house?
My house is fine. My house is fine. We've got rain on the front windows. You know how big our veranda is.
Yeah, yeah.
It's 11 foot deep towards the house.
Yeah.
And the windows are soaking wet.
Oh, so the rain's coming right in underneath.
Yeah, coming from the north. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, well, Harvey Bay faces north, mate, so it's coming straight into the ocean. Yeah. Well, that's good news, mate, that you and Marjo are bloody not flooding.
Yeah.
Terry, literally, I don't know if you speak, Terry is about 2 millimetres from having water coming through his house. It is lapping at his door sill, mate.
Poor Chris, he's housing the water. Chris on the Boothavenbedrijf, he is housing the water out of his house. It is shocking. People driving so fast and it goes over the curb. And because his house is low-lying, the water comes straight. It is, oh, mate. I offered him help, but he said, no, I'm all right for the time being. So,
Chris is probably watching at the moment. But, Chris, if you do see this, mate, we're thinking of you. We hope everything's okay. And I'm sure when it's over, if you need a hand, mate, there's heaps of people in Harvey Bay to come and give you a hand.
I don't think so, Buck. He's busy housing the water out. I'm telling you. He put up a clip, but it is, mate, he can't do anything about it.
Yeah. Well, what do you do? Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, mate.
Anyway, let's hope it doesn't get too much damage, mate, and whatever. And anyway, but Terry, I tell you what, Terry and Robin are just about to go under too, mate. And I spoke to Jason before, Crazy Dog, and he said, mate, I'm only an inch from water coming through my house, and he's out there trying to move rocks and that to try and get water to drain away from his yard. So it is about 16 inches in 4 hours. That is a lot of rain, mate. That's Noah's Ark shit, isn't it?
Yep.
Wow,
I've got 16-inch stormwater drains going from the back of where my garage is. Well, most probably you can't picture it, but there is a stormwater drain on the other end on the garage. Yeah, and it goes with 16-inch pipe towards the back street.
Yeah,
and the pipes can't cope with it.
So a 16-inch pipe can't cope with the water.
Yep.
Holy dooly! Wow.
It is unreal.
Gee, we're slackens on from over in Canada. It's all happening over here at the moment, Mark. Harvey Bay's flooding, mate. That cyclone. Jack, the cyclone itself, mate, did you get much wind in that at Harvey Bay, or you just dodge a bullet from that?
We dodged a bullet from that. We had a bit of wind, but nothing that you say, oh, not like Snorky had this week at night, at midnight, what he showed. I mean, on the moment, there is wind, but it is back at all compared to what Snorky had. The trees go up and down a bit, but it is not that you say, oh, it is wind. It is a high wind power, not at all.
Yeah,
but,
that's bloody. Jason said this morning, cars going along the Esplanade too far, and just create bow waves and pushing water into all the shops and that along the Esplanade, making everyone stop harder. Stay at home, people, for goodness sake.
They call them in Holland rampage. What you call them, Matt? Ramp tourist. They only go out to have a look how bad it is. Rubberneckers.
Rubberneckers.
Fair income.
And all they do is just create more
havoc
for everyone else. And more traffic on the road for police and all that type of stuff. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on, mate, about some of the stupidity that I've seen on TV during this thing down on the Gold Coast and that. Absolutely, we've already had a death, mate, because someone drove through floodwaters. Someone got washed away. How many times does the government, the police, every time they come on TV, mate, they're saying if it's flooded, and they still do it, mate.
Put a $5,000 fine on him.
Well, you can't find this bloke. He's dead, mate. He got washed away and they body. He's dead.
Them stupid young kids at the Gold Coast this week.
Yeah.
Playing around in the heavy waves. I mean, stupidity.
Absolute stupidity.
if
There's
they
a young
get in,
girl there. It's like a 6 metre drop of erosion, and there was a young girl standing right on the edge. If it collapsed, she would have been in the surf and probably sucked out to sea. And the parents just sitting there watching her. Like, stupidity, Jack. Like,
I'm
I don't know,
100% with you.
like social media has just turned people into morons now. No one seems to be able to think for themselves. Here we go, Jack. Are people stupid? Are they ignorant? Or are they just disobedient and we've got the attitude now where I don't have to do what people tell me.
Yeah.
I don't have to step away from that belt. I don't have to not be near the beach if it's dangerous. I don't have to not drive through flow. They can't tell me what to do. Is that the attitude this country's got now? Because to me, it appears that way, Jack, that people are just so disobedient now and just do not care.
If you don't have a good excuse to be in the car on the moment, you shouldn't be driving in Harvey Bay.
Yeah, exactly right. Brady will talk about that soon too, mate.
Put a $3,000 fine on that one.
Yeah.
I mean, only people that go to the hospital or whatever emergency department should have the right to go somewhere.
Yeah.
People are rubbernecking. I mean, it is bullshit.
I know. It happens all the time, mate. If you do not need to go out in this weather, everyone, don't go out. Stay at home until it's safe to go out and until let the police and all them do. The only people who should be out there at the moment is your emergency workers and critical stuff. Now, ergon energy and all that type of stuff, mate. So you can't fix stupid. There's only one way to fix stupid.
Indeed,
big stick, mate. As Jack said, massive fines. Massive fines. These kids that were endangering their own lives, but then if they do get what, other people have got to risk their lives to save them. So maybe the parents need to cop a $5,000 fine. And that's because your son is a disobedient little turd and didn't do what the police told him to do. Here's a $5,000 fine. We need to start doing it, mate. We really do. We live in a country where assistance only a phone call away. They believe that if they get into trouble, they just make a phone call. Personal responsibility has left the bill. Exactly right, Brad. Exactly
Indeed,
right.
Brad.
The police must be sick of telling people, mate, some of the stupid shit we saw on the news of people just putting themselves in danger's way because they're either ignorant, disobedient, or just dumb. I was going to say something else then, a second word. They're just dumb, mate. Like, honestly, friggin' hell. It just, every time someone dies in a flood, every time.
Self-inflicted 9 out of 10.
One was an accident up here. We lost 2 people drowned in the Ingham floods only, for a month ago, mate. One lady fell out of a boat. That was a terrible tragedy in that. But these drownings that happen because people are driving through floodwaters, I'm never going to sit here and go, they deserve to. You would never say that. No one deserves to die. But how many times do people need to be told, mate? Don't drive through floodwaters. And they keep doing it. They keep doing it. And they keep coming unstuck. And this bloke lost his life, unfortunately. But even if he was clambering into a tree, what's got to happen then, mate? Swift water rescue teams from the fireys and that got to put their lives on the line to save the prick.
Yeah, well,
ridiculous.
Fine. Let them pay for the truck time for everybody that is involved. They all cost $120 an hour these days.
Yeah.
No, and the truck is $500 an hour to have on the road. I mean, the money has to come from somewhere.
Yeah, I know. There you go. I'm going to swear, everyone. That's a good old army saying. Did you use this in the Dutch army, Jack? CDF, common dog fuck.
Yeah, well, yeah. We had similar.
No, show a bit of common dog fuck show a bit of intelligence, for God's sake. That's an old army saying, David. We used to use that all the time. No CDF, common dog. Common dog, common sense. I don't know where that saying came from, but it was a well-used term in the army. As soon as I saw it, I thought I've got to tell people about that. Bit of CDF, common dog F. Yeah, so anyway, the Olivers are down on the goal here. Tommy or Christina, are you able to come on and give us an update from the Gold? Anyone on the Gold Coast or in the firing line? Gidgey Gorilla, mate, they thought it was over in Brisbane, Jack, and then Gidgey sent a photo. His fence was gone. So,
Wow.
for those who don't know, the cyclone came in. It was going to hit North Stradbroke Island as a Category 2. And then all of a sudden, the cyclone started heading north, Jack, and it crossed over Moreton Island as a Cat 1. And as soon as it hit Moreton Island, it went down to a tropical low. And then it just sat there. It just sat there and sat there and sat there. It's now crossed over, and they reckon Brisbane and places like that, Wivenhoe Dam, Somerset Dam and all that are in for a lot of rain as well, Jack. They're going to cop all that stuff you're copping. So you're not out of the woods yet, Brisbane. There still could be a lot of flooding. So be careful. And if you're in a flood zone, be prepared to leave if you need to. It's not over yet. The cyclone might be, the rain is not. And we said from day one, and the news said from day one, the rain is going to be the biggest threat from this cyclone, not the wind. I know a few people lost roofs and all that. But as far as cyclones goes, it was a piss ant as far as wind goes, but it's the rain. It's the rain that causes the problems. Trees, mate, that aren't used to this amount of rain, and be careful around your area, Jack. You get that much rain, mate, it loosens all the roots up of trees and that, and next big blow you get, trees start falling over because the root structure's been compromised. So we get that all the time up here. When you see a tree standing up here in North Queensland, she's a strong one because it's been through a lot of that type of stuff you're going through. But, yeah.
Luckily, we don't have any trees on the property. I took them all out.
Yeah, that's a good thing, mate. Trees are good. My dad always said that. Trees are great out in a paddock. I think they can cause a lot of damage when they're around bloody Steve saying, I just saw a video of Chris's place with all the water going through. Oh dear, that's not good.
It is shocking. I feel so sorry for him. And most probably Terry as well. And mate.
Anyway, Chrissy, I'm sure when this is over, mate, if you need a hand to clean up and scrub walls and do all that, there's a heap of people in Harvey Bay that'll come around and give you a hand, mate. Terry G's on, guys. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Terry, can you hit that link and show us your house by any chance? There's a link. I'll put it up again, Terry.
But you pulled me off the channel.
No, you're on there.
No, so Terry can come on. It's too much.
Oh, no, Terry, that's right. We can, okay. Yeah, mate, I'll leave you on a little bit longer. Sorry, I thought you said I picked you for it. No, you're still there.
Please, well, why did take me out of the room so somebody else got the chance?
That's all right. If Terry comes on, we will. Anyway, Jack, mate, thanks for coming on. Give us an update. 16 inches in 4 hours. That is a lot of rain in anyone's thing, mate. It is a lot of rain. So,
thanks for checking up. Anyway,
Marjo, where's Marjo? Tell her to come on and say good day.
Mayo. Back said, come on and say hello.
Are you?
She can't hear you.
Oh, that's all right.
Well, yeah, she can hear.
Yeah. Here's Terry now, everyone. Terry and Tom. Hey, how are you?
Good morning, all.
Good morning.
I'm glad to hear you two are okay. Terry and Crazy are bloody, so.
Sure. Yeah.
Anyway, and we've got Terry about to come on, and we've also got Tommy as well. So thanks, Jack, for coming on, mate.
Thanks for having me back. Much appreciated.
Glad you're okay, mate. If anything changes, check in, please.
Thanks for thinking about us.
Always, mate, always.
Be safe, all. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, mate. Thank you. See you in the chat.
Hi, Mark. How are you, mate?
And Tommy Oliver's on. G'day, Tommy. How are you, mate? How are you?
Hi,
Terry.
How are you, mate?
Good. We'll go up to Terry. Terry looks like a drowned rat. Give us a bit of a bloody update, Terry, on what's happening there, mate.
Well, the wind's blown at 15 knots and had me backside at about 20, as the media would say.
Yeah.
Hang on, how do we turn the camera around?
There's a little, I don't know, he'll work it out. No.
Not sure about the camera, but anyhow, this is the backyard at the moment where we're all flooding at the moment. Everywhere.
That's subsided since 20 minutes ago, Terry. That was like a swimming pool 20 minutes ago.
The water has come down. I put boards everywhere so we can divert the water from out in the back patio area because it's all coming in through the house. So the house is all flooding at the moment, guys. And the family's in there at the moment doing the best they can to mop most of it up. Chrissy Anderson, if you're watching, mate, I hope you guys are okay. Same with Crazy. Crazy's mopping the water out of the back patio as we speak. I just spoke to him just before to see if he wanted to run up and go and grab some sandbags. And but all the roads are all flooded too, so you couldn't get anywhere if we tried. So all we could do is be like the fishes and keep swimming and try and do the best we can to ride it out.
Well, Terry, I spoke to you not even half an hour ago, mate, and you had water lapping at your door. So it actually got in, mate, did it?
Yeah, mate, yeah. So it went all the way through to the lounge room front door. But, yeah, all we can do is do the best we can and ride this one out.
Wow, mate. That's a lot. Well, Jack Turtle reckons you've had 16 inches of rain in 4 hours, mate. That is bloody Noah's Ark shit.
Yeah. So we sprung a leak in the caravan, so I've got buckets in the caravan at the moment, trying to soak up my water. And, look, it is what it is at the end of the day. We've had a lot of rain. And, there's not much you can do.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, no one was expecting Harvey Bay to get this much rain, Terry. Everyone was thinking Tommy
not
close to Brisbane and that.
It's been absolutely full on, mate. Since 6 o'clock when it first started.
Gee whiz. Anyway, all right, mate. Listen, Terry, thanks for bloody coming on, mate. I'll let you get back to the family, and that's more important than talking to us, mate. But
best luck, Terry.
Yeah, mate.
So easy, guys. All right.
Thanks.
Look after yourself, guys. If you need anything, just sing out. So.
All right. Talk to you soon, mate. Thank you.
All right.
Good luck with it. Righto, Tommy Oliver down on the Gold Coast. Tommy, how are you hanging in there, mate? How's everything been the last couple of days?
Mate, I just got out of my pajamas probably 5 minutes ago. We're having a good time. We're not flooded here. We live on we live on the side of a hill. We're all good.
Yeah. Hey, those beaches are a mess down there with erosion, aren't they? From what we've seen on the news, the Gold Coast beaches are a mess.
Yeah, they're going to take a long time to come back. They're going to have to pump it up.
Yeah.
Bring it from over the border somewhere up pumping jetties that way. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like there's places there, mate. There's 5 and 6 meter walls where it's been eroded out, mate. It's just terrible. They're going to have
and you still get clowns jumping off them.
Yeah, seen that, mate. Like that's what I was talking about before. I don't know if you were on then, but the stupidity of some people, mate. Common sense is just gone nowadays.
It certainly has.
Bloody hell.
I reckon these reporters have got a lot to do with it, Buck, as well, because they're down there standing there encouraging people to come by with their dogs and waving and having their coffee and everything. So, I think they're a bit to blame as well.
Absolutely. And they're all out there standing in it to make it look more dramatic and all that type of stuff as well, mate,
I reckon I saw the same tree falling over down there at, they took every shot of it. I was waiting for them to go in and pan in to see the insects.
Oh, mate, yeah. Mate, it was only, as I said, it was a Cat 2. And if it came over as a Cat 2, yous were on the southern side of it, and that's where it's always going to be worse. The southern side of a cyclone in the southern hemisphere here is the worst side to be on if you're on the northern side. But how's the rain at the moment, mate? Is it belting down at all?
It's constant rain. I mean, we're lucky. I don't know. We've been measuring the rain gauge since it sort of started, Friday. We've had about 370, 380 mils of rain. So we haven't copped a lot. But obviously the hinterland, the Cooma River's running a banker, the Pimpamar, all the southern creeks are all running up high. But
yeah. So they're going to get a lot more rain up in Brisbane. They reckon the Bremer River and all that type of stuff as well. So, Yeah, but I think beach erosion for the Gold Coast, mate. I think beach erosion is going to be the biggest problem down there.
Yeah,
It's
not
gonna
looking good for Easter.
Oh, it's going to take months to get those. And it's not just a small beach, mate. It's how long's the Gold Coast? 20, 30 kilometres. It's a lot. It's a big beach.
Yeah, about that. 27 or 28 Ks long, something like that.
Yeah, like that's going to take them months to get that back to. Maybe it'll never come back. Let's hope they don't have to start putting rock walls up to stop the erosion. But there's buildings there, mate, that look like they're about to go. So they might have to put a few rock walls.
Yeah.
Where's that place where the water? It's out there and the water's coming in behind. Is that an Elephant Rock at Currumbin?
Yeah, that's down at Currumbin. I mean, that place floods all the time. Everybody's going, oh, we've lost it. Oh, they just cleaned it out, reset it, and then the next blow and the next storm we get comes through again.
Yeah. It looks like, I don't know how much more she can take, but that water whizzing around, it's got to bloody channel it out sooner or later, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it's right on the beach though. It's it's probably at the best of times not even a metre above the surf.
Yeah. What is it, a surf club or something, is it?
Yeah, it's the Viking Surf Club. That's where they do the dawn service every year. It's pretty big down there too. One of the premier spots down on the Gold Coast.
The Elephant Rock one. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, it's a beautiful place to have Anzac Day, which, I don't know, they're going to get that. How's that going to be for Anzac Day? It's not that far away, really, another 6 weeks or so. So let's hope they can get it back up and running for Anzac Day.
They'll just have a bar in the car park and play two up in the car park.
Yeah, no, that's good. Anyway, how's all the theme parks and that held up, mate? All right?
Yeah, we're all good. Family's here. Here's Kayla. She's eating the pancakes for breakfast. There's Chrissy in the background.
It's nearly bloody lunchtime.
Oh, mate, there's no time at the moment. We're not working. We're not going to school. So what's time?
Hey, Buck, what happened to the football game?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that soon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a shocker. I've got all the footy scores here. We'll talk about that soon. But dear, oh dear, not good at all. When are you back to work, mate? You reckon back to work tomorrow? Things as normal? Or things off?
Nah, we're all in stand down at the moment until Wednesday at the very earliest. But I mean, I'll probably be back. I was working up until Friday afternoon. I'll probably be back maybe tomorrow, if not Tuesday morning.
Yeah. So theme park's closed till at least Wednesday, mate.
Yeah, I think Dreamworld might go back Tuesday. Movie World's Wednesday. SeaWorld, all the rest of them are Wednesday. But it all depends on what's going on with the flooding.
Yeah. Wonder how SeaWorld holds up to all that type of weather. Can it bloody erode away? Is there any, I don't know, have you any erosion around SeaWorld and that at all?
No, the spit takes it a fair bit. They got pretty high dunes up there. It's quite wide.
Yeah, right.
Not like poor old Bribey Isle and the top end of Bribey. That's gone.
Is it really?
Yeah. So all that Golden Beach area now, they're getting all the storm surge. So
I've seen a lot of stuff about Golden Beach on the news. Is that on Bribey? Is it, mate? Golden Beach?
It's on the mainland side. So they had a really long spit of land that got washed away a few years ago, cut through, and then it's just been slowly going. And this one got it.
Wow. Bloody hell. What about Inskip Point and that? That was bad enough as it was. Remember, just on the southern side of Fraser there. Be interesting to see what Inskip Point looks like after this, because it suffers badly from erosion, and there's campsites along there, and they've lost a few to erosion already, mate. And be interesting to see how many of them are gone.
Yeah, I don't reckon I go camping up there. There's too many of that when all the water disappears underneath and big sinkholes. Probably keep going.
Yeah, a few people lost their caravans up there, I think, to sinkholes and that. So anyway, all right, mate, thanks for coming on. I'll keep moving on.
Worries.
Glad you're okay, mate, you and the family. Love to all, and thanks for coming on and giving us an update from the Gold Coast, mate. But those beaches, mate, they're going to take a long time to bring back. Yeah,
and our cousins over the border, they're copping a flogging too down there at Lismore.
Yeah. Everyone down in Lismore was mentioned and that. So let's hope. Last I heard, the river was subsiding, which is bloody good news for Lismore. That poor town, mate. Gee whiz, is there a town that's been through? That's probably, I don't know, a town that's been through worse flooding than Lismore in the whole of Australia in recent years. They've just poor buggers. I reckon some people, Tommy, $30,000 insurance premiums. How can anyone possibly afford that living in Lismore? You
You
can't.
pack up and move.
You'd have to, mate. Yeah, that's just, or just run the gauntlet and not be insured.
Yeah.
You just 30,000, mate. That's half a year's wage for some people. Like, come on.
It's all a bit muted.
But anyway, all right, mate. All the best. Thanks for
All
coming
right.
on.
Stay safe, all.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Bye now.
See ya.
See ya. See you, kids. Well, there you go, guys. Yeah, if you've probably been watching the news like me. The beaches down on the Gold Coast are an absolute mess. An absolute mess. So I've been waiting for this one. I knew this diddly donk would be on and rubbing it into me, as he should. Let's go on to some footy scores, guys. So anyway, good luck to everyone in the especially in Harvey Bay there, guys. And if you're in Brisbane, the Brisbane area and that, it's not over yet, everyone. It's not over yet. If you don't need to leave home, don't. Stay at home unless it's urgent. Stay at home. The more people out on the road in this weather, and that just makes everything worse. The airport's open. There are planes flying in and out of the Brisbane airport, which is good news. So let's hope in a couple of days, everything's back to normal. We get into recovery mode. They start getting the beaches back and all that type of stuff. And all you people there that are going, oh, don't chop that 100-year-old tree down. Well, if its roots have been compromised, it's got to go. That's just the way it is, guys. It happens up here all the time to us. If those trees have been compromised, they've got to go, because the next time you get a big storm with a heap of wind, they will go for sure. Okay. So let's get in some, well, it's not good news, is it? Not for me anyway. Let's quickly go through the footy scores, everyone. Rugby league I'm talking about. I'm going to spend 2 minutes on this. So round one of the NRL kicked off, and it kicked off over in the United States, over in Las Vegas. 2 games over there to kick us off last weekend. Penrith Panthers and the Cronulla Sharks. Great game of footy. Really good game. Sharks came back, but Penrith are just too good. Once again, Penrith know how to win a game under pressure, don't they? The Panthers won 28-22 over in the US, and the other game was the Canberra Raiders and the New Zealand Warriors, who are going to have a long year, along with the Cowboys, I think, guys. The Raiders won that 30 points to 8. And I think you'll find that the Warriors and the Cowboys could be battling it out for the wooden spoon this year. There's my prediction. Big win on Friday night to the Broncos, everyone. Speaking of wooden spoon, the Roosters, they've lost a lot of good players. They've lost a lot of good players this year, real good players, and it shows. Broncos did a job on them, 50 points. At least the Cowboys weren't the worst team. At least the Cowboys didn't get beaten by the most this weekend. Broncos beat the Sydney Roosters 50 points to 14. Really tight game between the Knights and the Tigers. Now, the Tigers, they're going to go a lot better this year, guys. The Tigers will do. They will not get the wooden spoon. They're going to do a lot better this year. They've got Jerome Luai and a few other players in there. So Knights 10, Tigers 8, and that was in Newcastle. So a tight game. Only a 2-point win there. Rabbits 16, Dolphins 14. Fins down. Roz is spewing, everyone. The Dolphins went down. They should have won that game, everyone. But their ball handling let them down. They dropped the ball on the first tackle, and guess what happened? 30 seconds later, the Rabbits score. That's what happens when you don't respect the ball, guys, and you start dropping the ball on the first tackle. That happens in the NRL. If you make mistakes, you will get punished, and it happened to the Dolphins the other night. They should have won that. They didn't. They need to sort that part of their game out. You can't do that. Good game. I didn't see this game, but apparently it was a good game. Dogs come from behind, according to the news, 28-20 over the Dragons. So that looked like it would have been a good game. I turned this game off. I couldn't watch it all. Paulie Martin, well done, mate. Your bloody Sea Eagles did a job on us. They made us look ordinary. And I think the Cowboys are in for a very, very long year, everyone. 42-12, Manly over the Cowboys. And we got 5 tough games in a row, the Cowboys. I wouldn't be surprised if we go 0-5 in our first 5 games. Not good at all. And today's the Storm and Melbourne Storm and Parramatta Eels, guys. I think Storm will do a job on the Eels. Never know. I think the Eels will do a lot better this year. I think don't underestimate the Eels. So anyway, that's it for the footy. That is it for the football. if the Cowboys won, I'd probably talk a bit more about it. But yeah, Annie, go the Bunnies. Annie Fuller's a Bunnies supporter. Anyway, Swag and Sisters are on. Who else is on? Slacken's on. Slacken's going to come on in a minute, everyone. Mark, I don't know. I'm going to put that link up again for you, mate. So, Mark, you can click that in a couple of minutes and hopefully come on. Now, listen, everyone, before we get into the world news, and isn't it all happening this week with the cyclone, the floods, and all the shit that's happening overseas? It's been a big week in the news. And I'm thinking of doing a Sunday morning wrap-up for an hour and a half, just to talk about what's going on, just general discussion and all that. Now, listen, I had a big rant you all know where I stand. I had my say last week. I'm not going to do that again this week, guys. This is a chance for some other people to come on and have their say. Now, listen, we had someone on there yesterday, someone who doesn't agree with me. I don't know. It's a troll. I've got a funny feeling I think I know who it is. Come on under the name of Belinda Carlisle and started trolling, saying some pretty unsavoury stuff about some people in the community here, which was just not on. So that piece of shit's gone now. I won't tolerate anyone coming on here. If you want to disagree with me, everyone, fine. I've got no problem with that. If you don't see eye to eye with me and you want to have a healthy discussion, I'm all for that. Like, people go, I'm not like these channels where if you don't agree and don't agree all the time. I've been booted off one channel. I was like really pro what he told, but I said something pro-Trump on it. I've been banned off. He's an American guy because I said something pro-Trump about there's a few things Trump's done that I agree with. And I mentioned that in his comments, and I've been booted from his channel. So I'm not going to be one of those channels where you don't agree with Buck, I'm going to ban you. I don't work like that, guys. I encourage, if you agree with me, great. If you don't, that's fine. But back it up with something and let me know why. Love to have healthy discussion. No dickhead policy, yeah. But when people come on and start having a go at people's disabilities and all that, it was just, I think I know who it is. And if I ever run into this guy, I'm going to stick his teeth down his throat, guys. I'm just sick of him doing that. If it's him, it probably is. He'll know who I'm talking about. He drives a train. If I ever run into the guy, it's not going to be pretty for him. You want to hope I never bloody run into him again, because some of the stuff he said about Roz and about my friends and that, I don't let that shit go unchecked, everyone. I'm a bit old school when it comes to that. He can say anything to me. I've got thick skin. But when you say something about my family or my good friends, she's on. So that's the way I was brought up. It's the way most Aussies should be. Look after your mates. We seem to have lost that now, don't we? So anyway, I had my say last week. You know my stance on things. I'm not one of these guys who, when it comes to politics, I'm just one side or the other. I don't operate like that, because both sides of government make good calls and make bad calls. I like to think I sit on the fence, and if someone does something good, I say so. If I don't agree with it, I'll say so. There's people out there that doesn't matter what Albanese does, our Prime Minister, it's the wrong thing. And Sky News Australia is one of those, okay? Someone there the other day, oh, you're watching mainstream media, Buck. You're anti-Trump. You're watching too much mainstream, NBC and all that. Well, let me tell you, most of the stuff I watch, guys, is either Fox News or Sky News Australia, who are pro-Trump. I watch those channels. I watch them a lot more than the other channels. Let me tell you. And even Sky News Australia is starting to go, oh, we don't really agree with that. You can see they're starting to go, oh, there's times there where you go, it's like if you're a mate, you've got good mates with someone, and he does something really bad that you don't agree with, you've got to call him out on it. You go, mate, that's not on. You can't do that. Okay, and you've got to keep your mates in check. If they're on the piss, they're making a goose of themselves, you step in and go, mate, no, don't do that. Don't make a dickhead of yourself. You know I'm on your side, but you're about to get your bloody head caved in because you're making a dick of yourself. Let's get out of here. So that's how I operate. I call it as I see it, everyone. But there's people out there that they're just like that. They got the blinkers on when it come to the COVID days, guys. Yeah, I got jabbed like thing. Or maybe I was a sheep. I don't know. I just went with the flow. I did what was recommended. But there's still people out there trolling me because I got jabbed. Can you believe that shit? Like, they're like vegans. If you're a vegan, fantastic. But don't have a crack at me because I like having a bloody steak sandwich or something. That's it's, you know how it works. There's people out there that have just got, if you don't agree with them, they can't deal with you because you don't see exactly how they see it. And I'm not like that. I encourage healthy debate. Now, listen, I said the other day, Trump's done some good stuff, and just recently he's done some shit that I really disagree with everyone. I had my say. I'm not going to sit here and have a rant on this one like last week. I did that last week. If you want to see my view, that's what we're going to do. But we got someone in the chat room, guys. As you know, Canada is on the receiving end of the United States at the moment. And as the Canadian Prime Minister, and that said, we got nothing against the American people. We're good friends with you. We got it. The problem is with your government. And I thought, rather than me sitting here, we got a bloke from Canada in the chat room, everyone. We all know who he is. Slacken, Mark Burlian. Mark's in Toronto there. And I said to Mark, do you want to come on tomorrow and have a say and let us know what the feeling is like in that in Canada at the moment, everyone. So we're going to speak to Mark. Hopefully Mark will come on if he can find that link. Julie's probably trying to set the computer up for him at the moment because he's too dumb to work it out himself. But I'd like to, I've had a chat with Mark on Messenger, guys, but I'd love to have a chat about what the feeling is like in Canada at the moment and get the view from a Canadian. So it's not, you're not having a crack at me. So Mark's up in Canada. He knows what's going on. Kaz is on. I know Kaz doesn't see eye to eye with Mark at all, but Mark's in Canada and he can tell us what the current state of play is up there. And the way I see it, Canada is standing up to Trump at the moment. And I think Trump's put tariffs on them, took it off for 30 days. Put tariffs on them for a day, and then, they're off again. So I think Canada's kept their tariffs on, haven't they? I think, so someone's coming on. Who is it? It's Slacken now, guys. Here he is. G'day, Mark. How are you, mate?
Hey, Buck. Sorry, I'm on my tablet. Julie tried to get the laptop to work, and it wouldn't.
No, that's all right.
I'm on my tablet. I hope that's all right.
No, that's all right. We can see you and we can hear you, mate. So thanks for joining us this morning or last night for us.
It's funny you bring up last night. I mean, we'll get into what's going on, but it's funny you bring up last night. It's kind of like talking into the future because you're into tomorrow.
It is. It's bloody.
You know what I mean?
10:42 on Sunday morning here, and it's 7:42 p.m. Saturday night in Canada.
Yeah, and tonight we lose an hour, and tonight we lose an hour. So right now I'm 15 hours behind you. Tomorrow I'll be 14.
Oh, right. So it's is it like what they call the daylight savings or something? Is it?
I think that's what we move into. I can't remember. I can't keep track of what it is. All I know is I lose an hour tonight, which sucks.
Okay, mate. A lot of stuff going on in the world. We won't drag it on too much, but I just want to get your point of view as a Canadian, mate. Like, we can sit down here in Australia, and I know I've got my views on what's happening. Kaz has got his views. There's people that are, America's doing the right thing. There's people on Canada's side. There's a lot of Americans that agree with what Trump's doing with the tariffs and that on Canada. There's a lot of Americans that don't agree with it too, mate. There's a lot of shit going on there, mate. And from where I stand, Canada has banded together. Sorry, I've got a bloody tickle in my throat, and is fighting back against these tariffs and that. And it feels like you think that you've been hard done by and unfairly treated by Donald Trump. Would that be a fair call to say?
Yep. There's a lot of Canadians that really weren't patriotic. Like I don't really have another word for it. That's not exactly accurate, but that's as close as I can sort of get to the word. We're not patriotic. It's not like Canada, rah rah, fist boom bob. We're not that kind of person. But they've managed to turn Canada into one country, we're a nation and we're getting shit on and we're pretty pissed off. There's a lot. I mean, you follow it pretty close, so I don't really have to really, detail it out for you. The thing is we've now slapped tariffs on what a lot of their shit that they send up to us. We banned, like, I don't know how many of you know this, but LCBO, Liquor Control Board of Ontario, is the largest purchaser of alcohol in the world. They buy for the province of Ontario, and it started decades ago with just the way the government used to work with alcohol here. But everything. So now all the American booze is off the shelves and it's not being sold. So if you were, I mean, you could think in terms of Canada as not being that big, or Ontario, but the largest. So if you were, let's say, Jack Daniels, and I'm not picking on Jack Daniels specifically, but I'm just going to use it as an example. I don't know how large of a percentage Jack Daniels is in Canada or even Ontario. Yeah, we're 1% of their sales, but now all of a sudden 1% disappears.
Yeah, it all
They're
hurt.
not happy about it. Apparently, that's Julie's telling me they're pissed.
Yeah.
So like that's just one example. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of Canadians right now. It's March break, which started on Friday. Well, yesterday, because 2 days ago for you guys, because you're already in tomorrow. You're in the future. So for a lot of people who were going to the States, which is a big thing, Disney World and just warmer weather, going south to South Carolina and places like that to golf, there's a lot of people that cancel their trip. They go, well, I'll go somewhere else. Either they're not really staying in Canada in some cases because they want to go somewhere warm, but they've changed. So if they go somewhere in the Caribbean or Mexico or something like that. And that's just what they've done. They're like, okay, well, if you guys are going to shit on us like this, and by you guys, I don't mean the entire United States. I'm talking about their leadership. It's just, it's not kosher. Like, we've been friends for 200 years since the War of 1812, and they come to our help when we have natural disasters like you guys are dealing with a cyclone. Excuse me. They have in the States, they have hurricanes. They just had that huge fire in Los Angeles, and I sent you videos of Canadian airplanes, our forest fire fighting planes, the Canadairs, that got sent down, and they flew down to Los Angeles. And they were going into Santa Monica Bay to pick up the water, and they were just flying, less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And they were dropping all the water on, and they were huge in stopping the fires from spreading. That's really where they started to get a handle on all those fires in LA, is when those planes got down there, because of just the sheer amount of work that they're capable of doing. They're designed to do that, but that's what they do. Now they're talking about buying a bunch of them in the States. At least they were. Now I don't know. So, like, we help each other out a lot. We had a huge ice storm about 25 years ago, maybe 28, and thousands of towers in Quebec and northern Ontario that borders Quebec, Montreal and Quebec, that area, they came down from the ice, and I don't know how many crews came up from the States and helped put them all back up again. And we go down there for hurricanes. It's not uncommon. Well, they send truck after truck after truck, going down into the state and helping to put up their electrical grid again. And we don't charge them for it. They come up here and help us. They don't charge us. So does that all stop?
Yeah, I know. And that's
or are you going to send your people up? Sorry?
I'm sure this is not between the Canadian people and the American people. And speaking of Americans, we've got Mike Blakely on over in Colorado. G'day, Mike. How are you? This could turn bad. I've got a Canadian and an American on.
I think Mike and I are pretty much have the same opinions that this is bullshit. I can't see the chat room, by the way, guys, because I'm on my tablet. I tried to log into it, but I couldn't get into it. So if you make
that's
comments
all
or ask questions, I can't see them.
If I see a good one, Mark, I'll read it out for you, mate. But as Aussies, mate, we're good mates with you Yanks, and we're great mates with Canadians. Like and it's sad for us to sit back and see in America and Canada, and I think not only for Australians, but for the UK and for Europe, it's seeing two mates, like seeing two of your best mates have a punch up in the pub, and you go, bloody hell, and you think, what could I have done to try and stop that? But it's sad to see, mate. It's sad to see that America and Canada are not getting on well. And it's not the people, it's the governments. It's always the governments, Mark.
Yeah.
It's always the governments, mate. This isn't a Canadians versus America. And as Trudeau said the other day, when the Americans come up here for ice hockey and we boo their national anthem, we are not booing the players. We're not booing the American people. We're booing their government at the moment. That's what it was. And Trudeau tried to say that. Canadians and Americans are still good friends. Unfortunately, I don't know, mate, this border thing. Okay, maybe the border could have been better controlled, and I'm sure that it is being better controlled at the moment. But I'm sure a lot of fentanyl's actually coming into Canada as well. It's not just a one-way street when it comes to this fentanyl, mate.
You can make fentanyl anywhere, just from prescription drugs. And I don't know what drug you use. I have no clue. But they make them in the States. They don't need Canada to ship drugs to the States. I think it's made in Mexico or somewhere else and shipped to Mexico because it's probably like a lot of things, it's probably cheaper and easier to make it down there. So that's where it's made and it comes up. I don't know how it all works, and I don't really care. I think the percentage was 0.02% of all the fentanyl going into the States came from Canada, which is a non-measurable number. Really, it isn't. And illegal immigration from Canada, it did exist, but nothing on the scale that Trump's trying to make it out to be. Like, not even close.
Certainly not. It certainly just seems like a bullshit excuse to do what he's done to these tariffs and that, mate. It's just, if there were billions of dollars worth of fentanyl coming in and
the chat room and tight.
Thousands of illegal immigrants and that, I could understand it, but it's not working that way, mate. It's minimal, you know.
Yeah.
You got a 5,000 mile border, something's going to get over, mate, and it's not a heavily patrolled border. It's only in certain areas. I mean, you're good mates. You've got 5,000 mile border. There are points there where people can bring stuff in and out if that's what they want to do.
Yeah, there's like huge stretches of the border that's unoccupied because you can't lock that down, period. Now, there's areas where there's problems, and Trudeau has put in what he calls I don't know if he got the name from the U.S. or from Trump, but he's got a fentanyl czar, and he has stepped up patrols with the RCMP, and different provincial police have helped as well at the border itself in some of the more remote places. Because the biggest places that we have crossing is places like Presqu'île, Niagara Falls, Sarnia, Detroit, just outside of Montreal, places like that. That's out by Vancouver. Most of the border crossings are pretty remote in Canada. It takes you a long time to get there, I know, because we drove to Vancouver. You're not going to get there in 2 hours. It's going to take you a couple of days just to get anywhere. So really, and the borders where the Great Lakes, if you look at the lake, it's not that it looks really easy to cross the Great Lakes, but they get pretty rough pretty fast. And Canada and the U.S. have Coast Guard on the lake and police maritime units, and they do their own job because they have to. They're out there, helping boaters and stuff like that. So there's already patrolling on the water. So if you look at a map of Canada, you have this from the St. Lawrence all the way out to the end of Lake Superior, which is probably a third of the mileage, not counting the border with Maine and New Brunswick. There's a bit on Quebec where Quebec meets Maine and Vermont, New Hampshire, places like that. But it's largely, a water-based border, and that's not that easy to infiltrate. You go across the prairies. If you look right across the prairies, it's pretty open. It doesn't take a lot to see what's going on there. It's not a lot of places to hide. It's wide, it's big, it's flat. I mean, we hit one spot where we were just maybe 50 feet above the ground level, and you could see for, I'm guessing, 100 miles at one point in one of the places where it comes back to the prairies. You could just see forever. So it's not like it's like a jungle, and unfortunately, Trump, who, I thought was a better choice than Camilla Harris.
I did too. Yeah,
I did, and he did. And I know there's politics, and I don't want to really drag your whole thing into this, but one of the things that they were trying to bring in the Democrats were red flag laws. And what that is you don't have to commit a crime. If the government believes that you were going to commit a crime, you're guilty of the crime. That's what a red flag law is. So you support guns. Doesn't matter if you own a gun or not. I support guns, and I support the color purple. And if you're not wearing the color purple, then there's something wrong with you. We need to deal with that. Well, they consider that a crime. That's a red flag. You're going to kill people in purple. No, I'm not. No, that's a red flag. And they'll charge you. That's what they were trying to bring in with red flag laws. Is anything that they perceive that is a crime, then you have committed the crime, even if you haven't committed it, because they think you're going to. And
That was the
things that they were.
Democrats.
They were already starting to bring. They're already starting to try to bring that in, and obviously that's all shut down now completely. But you got to deal with the insanity like that. But I don't remember anyone ever once during the election saying anything about putting 25% tariff on Canada and building up this huge thing of see, Mike, I'm not. Mike will tell you, there it is. I'm not making up the red flag laws.
That's bizarre, mate. Even Australia doesn't have that shit, mate. I mean, we've got laws, and you either break them or you don't.
They were trying to bring in. Yeah. Well, Mike just said, I didn't know Colorado was that far off the line of bringing them in, but they're called red flag laws.
Colorado's a blue state, yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm not making it up. So they had to put a stop to that shit. And if you voted Democrats, it would have been a whole lot worse. But never during Trump's election campaign, or even before, did he ever mention about 25% tariffs on Canada, annexing Greenland. That's bullshit. We're a sovereign nation. We're part of NATO. Now he's standing up publicly saying, well, if you're attacked, we're not coming. Well, I'm sorry, you're part of NATO. If you were attacked, we'd be coming. So why do you think that we shouldn't? Why do you think you're cutting us off from NATO?
Didn't they invoke Article 5 after the planes flew into the tower because the United States was attacked, and Canada and all the NATO countries came to America's aid, mate? They got bloody short memories and that. I don't know.
We helped secure their border. When 9/11 happened, Canada, which has the biggest border with the U.S., we helped secure their skies because nothing could get through Canada. And we also helped secure their border on the ground. Patrols were stepped up because nobody knew, because most of us, were alive during that time. We remember, what kind of threats that they thought they might get, because for the first few days, nobody was really sure what was going to happen. And we all stepped up and we secured their borders. We secured by closing down the airspace north of them. Like, it wasn't even a debate. Julie and Robbie and her mom have gone to see a play called Come From Away. And it's about a plane that landed in Gander, Newfoundland, and they couldn't get out for 3 days or 4 days, whatever it was. And the residents of Newfoundland in Gander housed them and fed them and took care of them. And a lot of those guys, a lot of the Americans that were on the plane, they've gone back and they've made friends and they've put up schools and they put up, all sorts of stuff that they've done for them to thank them for taking care of them until they get a plane in there and get them out. I think there was a movie about it. But, if you look at Gander, Newfoundland, it has a military base there, but it's not equipped to handle an entire plane load of people. So the population took them in.
Yeah. No, it's good.
The plane? Oh, apparently it was hundreds of planes. I didn't know that. See, Julie's gone to see Come From Away, so she knows. Apparently it's hundreds of planes that landed there. And it was the locals that took them all in and gave them, stayed
because
in their
they
home and fed them.
New York in that, mate.
Sorry?
Because they couldn't land in New York.
That's right. Or they couldn't land anywhere. They had to come out of the skies and land at the nearest airport immediately.
Yeah.
And so that's where all these planes coming across the Atlantic or heading out towards the Atlantic, that's where they had to land. There was nowhere else for them to land, really.
Yeah.
They landed in St. John's and things like that. But Gander took a lot of planes, and there's nowhere for all these people to go. They can't live on the planes, so the locals took them all in. And if we weren't friends, you wouldn't do that.
No, mate, there's no one's debating whether, like, Canadians and Americans will always be friends, same as Yanks and Aussies and Canadians and Aussies. We can't let the governments come between our friendships and that. But, mate, just the bizarre, this thing, when he said, I want to make Canada the 51st state, everyone thought it was bullshit. And then, and now he's, Kaz mentioned something before. I'm going to bring it up in a minute about Trudeau, but just calling Trudeau Governor Trudeau, like Canada's one of the states now. He's calling him Governor Trudeau. Well, I'd like to see Trudeau can box, mate. I'd like to see him go down and put one in front of his chin. Go, call me
Yeah, well-
governor again, arsehole. I'm going to put a right on your chin.
Yeah.
Because Trudeau can actually box. He's not a bad boxer, as
Yeah, well, I
we've
sent you
seen.
that video of him doing that charity box.
Yeah, he can. He's not a bad fighter, Trudeau. He's quite a fit guy. Kaz mentioned before that, and I know you've mentioned it too, mate, that Trudeau has been a very weak leader and almost a very left sort of leader. Has he left it right till the last minute? And I know that you didn't have a lot of good stuff to say about Trudeau either. Has he left it right to the last minute to find his pills and to find a bit of intestinal fortitude, mate?
Yeah, Trump threw. I don't think he meant to do this, but he threw Trudeau a lifeline. Now Trudeau looks like a strong leader because he really has nothing left to lose. He's basically leaving, so he can say whatever he wants to say. But because he's now standing, and he's also standing on firm ground, like he knows that what Trump and his supporters, his political supporters, the White House are doing. He's on firm ground with Canadians telling them to take a hike, and we're going to fight back. I mean, we have. You follow it. You know all the things that have been going on and all of the interviews with like our premier, our foreign affairs minister. You've watched a lot of the stuff, so you're really up on it. You probably know more about it than I do because I work a lot, so I'm not really. I can't follow it that close. But like now Trump is backing off on the tariffs for the automotive because he suddenly realized that $300 million a day in automotive products, not just cars, but parts and things like that, get shipped into the States per day. So that's a 25% tariff. That means every day you're adding 75 million to that 300 million every single day. Americans aren't happy about that. So now he's cut the tariff back. It's okay for I think he either brought it down to 10% or he suspended it till April 2nd or something. He'll make a decision. But Doug Ford, who's our premier, still slapped a 25% tariff on the electricity we send to the States. He said to New York, Michigan, Ohio, he said, no, until Trump drops everything, we're not lifting anything. We're going to keep our foot down and we're just going to keep tariffs there. So you eliminate all of them because Ontario is a huge supplier of stuff to the state. And he's in charge of a huge budget here. And I mean, our Canadian budget, the federal budget is $1 trillion. And then you have all of the different provinces. And right behind the Canadian budget is the Ontario budget. I mean, a lot of Americans like to brag about the size of the budget of their state. But here, you think of Canada, the federal government has a $1 trillion budget. That's a lot of money. And then you start adding the country, all of the provinces. And my issue, and I'm not the only one, isn't with the people of the United States. It's with your dumbass leader that suddenly decided to go off. Like, who saw what he did with Zelensky? Now, where did that come from? Where did that all start? And you're looking at it going, like, is this guy in approval of this kind of stuff? Because if then you say to Zelensky, it's your fault actually that the war happened because you're not letting Russia take over Ukraine. So do you turn to Taiwan and say to Taiwan, well, it's your fault really because you really are part of China. That China doesn't, they want their country back, and so they're just going to annex you. So you see Canada as the 51st state, which truthfully, a lot of Americans, probably most, have always seen Canada as the 51st state. We're part of Baby USA, I think is one of the guys that I work with. He said that's what his friend in the States called it. I found out about it when I was 18, so you're talking 1987. The girl I went out with, her family was from the States. They're from Maine. And that's when I found out. They said, no, they were landed immigrants here. They'd been living here about 6 years. But that's when I found out that Americans see Canada as just another state. So Trump kind of has some support on that. But most people admit that we still are a sovereign country. So, like, it'd be just like Australia taking over New Zealand. Say, well, we're going to annex New Zealand. Were you nuts? It's a country. So if Trump supports Ukraine being taken over by Russia, does he support Taiwan being taken over by China? Does he then that gives him grounds for saying, well, Canada, we're just going to annex Canada, and if you fight back, it's your fault because you're putting millions of lives at stake. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's bizarre, and whether you're on you're pro Zelensky or anti Zelensky, I know there's a lot of anti Zelensky people in there, mate. But for him to come out and say Ukraine started the war and Zelensky's a dictator, that was disgusting. I don't give a shit what anyone says. And Trump the other day saying in his address to Parliament, I was going to say, his address to Congress, and he goes, we're going to take Greenland one way or the other. Like, who speaks like that, mate? Who
That's a
speaks like
dictator.
that? He
That's what
should
a
come up and
dictator does.
say, we'd like to have a more influence in Greenland. Like, I understand why he wants to get a foot in Greenland. Everyone gets that, but you don't come out and say, we're going to buy Greenland, or if they don't give it to us, we'll get it one way or the other. Basically saying we'll take it by force. If you can't talk like that.
No.
You
No.
can't. It's disgusting, mate. Someone needs to check him on it. And I think people are starting to realise now. I watch a lot of different stuff, and there's Americans channels that I watch were very pro-Trump, and even they at the moment are going, this is not good. This is not good. And I know a lot of Americans don't like the way he's treated Canada and Mexico. It's not good, mate. I'll tell you what was good, but the other day is the Premier. How do you say Premier? We say Premier. So unlike Premier, we say Premier here. So our
It's like in
states,
Canuck, Buck. It's not Canuck, it's Canuck.
as in a well, how come it's a Chinook and not a Chinook? The helicopter.
Because it's an American name.
That's right, yeah. So the Premier of Manitoba, which is one of your provinces, come out the other day. Have you seen it? And he took the piss out of Trump, and he signs an executive order to take all American grog off the shelves in Manitoba. And he goes, and he's an American Indian, mate. He's a First Nation, whatever you call them up there, First Nations, Native American heritage. And he goes, I'm about to sign an order, a big, beautiful order, you know, the way Trump talks and that, and taking all the American grog off the shelves. And then he holds it up and he's smiling and showing everyone. That was a great piss take, mate, from the Premier of Manitoba.
Yeah. That's become a joke. We were joking around about it on Thursday, I think it was. I can't remember what we were joking around in the lunchroom about at work, but we were just, it came up. We're like, but it was beautiful. It's a beautiful, whatever we were talking about, and it was beautiful. One of the guys said something. We're like, no, it's beautiful. You forgot it's beautiful. So now we're all, every time we finish something, hey, it was beautiful. You know, you have to have the two hands out. It was beautiful. And, you know, and Mexico's not, I'll give you a quick stat that I found out. I think you knew about this too, because you watch our stuff. Melanie Jolie actually is the one who said it. I think you sent it to me. Canada is the U.S.'s biggest trading partner. We're larger than China, Mexico, and there's two other countries. We are their largest partner. We trade more with them than the next four together.
Yeah, Japan and China were the other two you're thinking of?
Well, there's China, there's, I think, Mexico. It could be Japan, and I don't know what the other country is, but there's five. We're number one. The next four together are still smaller than Canada's trade with the U.S. So you're picking a fight with your not only just a large trading partner of yours, but your largest trading partner by a huge margin. And now China's seeing everything that's going on here, and they're saying, hey, we'll buy your oil. Hey, we'll buy this. And they're still looking at tariffs on some foodstuffs and that. And I'm not saying China's, is being on the board. I mean, it's a communist country, and they want to take over other countries. So you have to be careful how you do this. But at the same time, I don't think Trump expected that would happen. He thought what I think, and I'm not the only one, and you probably know this because you watch our stuff, is I think he expected we would just fold like a cheap suit. And instead, he's getting the exact opposite. And now it's costing Americans a lot. Like all those houses that burned in Los Angeles, they get a huge percentage of their lumber for their construction from Canada. So how much more is it going to cost them to rebuild all that shit? Because we're charging, there's 20, he's put a 25%.
Yeah.
Well, he's put a 25% tariff on it.
We've got enough of our own bullshit.
Sorry, I'm talking to you, so I didn't hear you.
Yeah, no, Trump said, we don't need Canadian lumber. We've got enough of our own. I don't think so.
You don't. No. Most of your lumber's coming, or a huge chunk of it anyway, comes from Canada. Now you've slapped a 25% tariff on it. Not us. You did. So now you're charging Americans 25% more for all of it. So good, smooth one. So how are you going to rebuild? Because you know how much damage was done just from the LA fires.
Yeah.
That's a lot of damage. And they need to rebuild, I think,
I never thought of that.
Thousands of homes.
Yeah, I never thought about the rebuilding of Los Angeles, which was horrific in that. And as I said, you guys were down there helping them out with their water bombers and all that type of stuff. We got a thing down here, Mark. We stick with our mates. Trump doesn't have that same. That's why I think Australians and America, like, we have a real mateship sort of thing. If we're your mate, we're your mate, and we'll look after you. And unfortunately, we're losing a bit of that down here now. But in the old days, when I was brought up, you were brought up to look after your mates and always stay on side with your mates, treat your mates well, look after them, be there for them. And I try and encourage that type of shit on this channel, mate. But Trump doesn't have that philosophy. I heard something good, and this could be a conspiracy theory, but it's got a bit of substance. Every time he says tariffs, the stock market goes down.
Yeah.
People are saying that that's when him and all these billionaire cronies get in on the stock market, buy when it's low, and then he comes on and says, no, 30-day suspension, and they go up again. So he's, I don't know, mate. I don't know if there's something in there that with the stock market and all, but the stock market is going down in America. It really is.
Yeah.
So
and it's because he's done it several times now in the last 2 months or whatever, where we're going to put tariffs on, then we're not going to, then we're going to, then we're not, and that just becomes uncertain. Now, even if he was planning to profit from this, it works against them because now there's so much uncertainty. People are just afraid to pull the trigger on investment. Like, I'm just going to wait a little bit, and that's kind of what he's running into. So he has a choice. He can leave the tariffs where they are. It's going to hurt us more than the Americans for sure. By how much, it's hard to tell because we've never been here before, but it's not painless for them. And now Doug Ford, our premier, is saying, well, if we've got to, we're just going to switch off the power. Have fun. Because if it gets that bad, we're switching it off. And he just got a mandate last week to do that. I mean, he went back to the polls a year early to say, listen, I don't know what I have to do. I may have to borrow tens of billions of dollars. I may have to fight the Americans directly on tariffs. We've never been here before, and I'm really not too sure what I'm going to have to do. It's all going to be based on whatever they do. But I'm not doing this without a mandate from the people because it was 3 years ago that I was elected. So if you reelect me, you know that I'm probably going to do a bunch of stuff I don't yet know what I'm going to have to do, but I need a mandate that says, yeah, we're just going to say we're trusting you, your judgment, and you do what you think you need to do. And he got it by a pretty big number. I think he had 275,000 more votes than he did the last election, and yet he lost 3 seats. So I don't really know how that happened, but it's still the popular vote went more into him than it did in the past. So he now has a full mandate to do whatever he thinks he needs to do. And he's already said, if I've got to shut the electricity off, then that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, he didn't want to, and he didn't beat around the bush, mate. He was very, very brutal. And he said, if 1.5 million Americans want to go without power, he said, I don't want to do it, but I might have to do it. Canada has not budged. They're keeping their 25% tariffs on at the moment, aren't they? Because Trump's up and down like a yo-yo. It's on, it's off. I think Canada's just staying with. I think Mexico might be as well, mate.
Yeah, there's more coming. There's the first round. There's 2 sets of tariffs that were put on. The first 25% went on to, I think, $30 billion worth of goods that we import from the States. There's a $120 billion amount of goods that we import that we haven't tariffed yet. And Justin Trudeau's our prime minister, Trudeau said, we're going to wait because right now they're taking the tariffs off of or we're lowering the tariffs on the automotive, giving it a month pause, but we're not going to remove the tariffs from what we've added tariffs to until we know what is going to happen. And we're not playing the game of wait a month, okay, we're going to put a pause. Wait a month, okay, we're going to pause it. Remove them, or we don't either remove them or we don't do anything. And if you keep playing the game, I think they're just going to slap tariffs on everything. Okay, well, if you're going to do this, then we're tariffing everything, and we'll start looking for other markets. Like we like our orange juice here. Like it's pretty popular. So I don't know why other countries like Australia, for example, like don't. There's Grove orange juice. I don't know why they, for example, don't start shipping it up here. And
might have to,
they can't
mate.
develop a market up here. Bundaberg rum, like American rum, is no longer sold here. Bundaberg makes a spiced rum. You guys go on and on about how good Bundaberg rum is, so ship it up. Contact the LCBO and say, hey, how much of this do you need? And if we can fill the order, then we'll send a shipment up, and you guys see if you like it. If you do, then we'll keep shipping it. Like develop it, and I think, sorry, I think that's one of the things that Canada's going to have to do is start reaching out to other places in the world that supply certain things that we've always gotten from the States, because they're right there. They truck it up or it comes up on the train, whichever way that happens to happen for that particular product, and we're good to go. But that's, they put a big kink in that supply chain. If you're going to hurt us, then we're going to come back to you. And once we
Yeah.
left the U.S. for, like, let's say oranges and avocados and whatever, we're not going back because you're not getting that power over us again. We've suffered, and we've had to. Oh, sorry, you need the mic thing up here. We've suffered, and you guys have hurt us. And you know what? We're not relying on you anymore. You can sell your stuff up here again, but we're probably not going to buy it because a lot of stuff isn't selling now. If it's American made, if we can avoid it, we're not buying it. Either buy it from some other country that makes it, or if it's Canadian, then that's what's getting bought. And you can start to see that on the shelves in the supermarkets and things like that, because people are like, I'm not buying American, and they've started to feel it.
Well, our exporters should be looking at Canada now and going, what do you need, boys? Because when China put big tariffs on our seafood and our grains and all that, when we wanted the big COVID investigation, that really hurt Australia, mate. And guess who swooped in? As soon as China weren't taking our stuff, America came in and said, we'll give it to you. So we kind of felt a bit betrayed after that. So I'd love to see Commonwealth countries working closer together, mate, not only military wise, but more exports. You start taking on more of the stuff that you need in that. A lot of Aussie wines, spirits, Australian whiskey, Australian rum. Mind you, mate, if we send Bundaberg rum up to Canada, it'll be on within a week, mate. You'll be charging over the border. Come on, Yanks, let's have a go, because Bundaberg rum is well known to start fights. Well, sugar cane champagne, we call it, mate. She's from Queensland. And usually when it gets in a blue, they've been on the Bundy rum. So that could be a bad move, sending Bundaberg rum up to Canada. But I'll tell you what, mate, you'd love it. And I might have to send you over a bottle. Oh, you're not a big drinker anyway, mate.
I don't drink at all. But it'll get drunk. I won't drink it, but it will get drunk. I promise you.
Yeah. No, someone to do it. But there's and that's what we need to do now as Australians. We should be on there going, what do you need, guys? We've got wine. We've got more wine than we can use ourselves. We got beautiful wines down here in Australia. So
we import a lot of wines from around the world. We make Niagara Falls, like in the Niagara region, we make a lot of wine, ice wine. We're actually known for making the best ice wine in the world, which isn't surprising considering we actually have perfect conditions to do that.
Yeah. Hey, I got one here from Samantha Fish or something. Canada need to get rid of Trudeau and sort out their economy. Well,
Trudeau is going to get voted out. I mean, he is going. Yeah. There's be an election shortly, and I can guarantee you the Conservatives are going to have a majority, and then the rest will start to fall into line from there.
Yeah, it says poor green power policy, should be exporting gas to Japan by now, but never built the pipeline. So they're talking about redoing the pipelines between the provinces now, mate, rather than down to the states. Yep. And anyway, it's interesting times ahead, mate. It really is interesting times ahead. Another question for you. Canada just placed an order for 88 F-35 Lightning II fighter jets. Will that go ahead, do you think? Will Trump sell them to you?
I don't know. I don't know. He might try to play a game of well, we will, but only if you do this. We might, but you have to do all of this first.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, F-35 is the only Gen 5 airplane that's available. It's just, and we need it. I explained to you today about what the Americans came up with the F-35 and the F-15, as far as using the F-15 as a bomb truck. And just the F-35 flies into denied airspace, and the F-15 sits on the outside of denied airspace in friendly airspace and just launches their missiles in, and then they're controlled by the F-35 that actually uses their electronics and sensors and radars and stuff to control them to land wherever it is they're going, so they don't get jammed and things like that. That's one of the things that they developed as a capability, so that they can make the most of the number of F-35s that they have, which I don't think is a bad way to do things. The F-35 can carry, or the F-15 can carry a lot of stuff. It has a really high capacity. It's a bomb truck. So it's not a bad thing, but we can't get the F-35s. If we do, are they going to be up to the spec that they're supposed to be? Or like I said to you, are they going to put in a self-destruct button? which
Yeah.
which is kind of like the conspiracy theory way of looking at it. But I now no longer put that away from them. Like at one time, and it used to be a big joke if the U.S. are going to act Canada, we're the 51st state. It was a huge joke for a long time. Like everyone's laughing. And when he first mentioned, I even told you, nah, it's just Trump being Trump. We're just laughing at all of it. Now, because he started on his shit, do you trust that the F-35s are going to get here and they won't have something wrong with them? Like they have, like you can push, you can remotely activate anything you want. I mean, Israel did it with those pagers, remember?
Yeah.
That Hamas bought, or the Palestinians and Hezbollah. I think it was Hezbollah. They got those guys, and you saw videos of they sent out a number to the pagers, and they all exploded and injured a lot of people. So do they put something like that in the F-35 that we don't know is there and we can't find, and then all of a sudden one day, poof, they're all gone?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they even sell them to you, mate. Hey, just back onto your politics, mate. Pierre Poilievre, or whatever you say. Poilievre, is it?
Yeah.
Is he going to be your next prime minister? Because I tell you what, he's not taking any shit from Trump. Seems like a strong leader.
Yeah, he is the guy that's going to be the next prime minister. He's so far out in front that it's I don't see anybody in any time soon. The Liberals have completely decapitated themselves because they spent too many years with Justin as their leader, and nobody sort of was prepared to take over or put into the wings to learn the ropes. Now they're struggling just to find an identity for somebody, and it doesn't look very good for them. So I don't see them being a threat. And the NDP aren't a threat. So he has no real fear that he won't be the prime minister, and he is.
Well,
and I'm one of the people that thinks he's going to do this right.
And what party is he? You got Trudeau's Liberal. What's party's he?
He's
Pierre.
PC, Progressive Conservative.
Oh, Conservative. Okay, so but mate, he seems like a strong leader, and I like the way he speaks, and I do like the way that both him and Trudeau have basically stood up to Trump. I think there's a times where if your best mate's doing something wrong, you got to stand up and say your piece. And Canada's staying strong on this. But anyway, we'll see what happens down the track, mate. So, but anyway, it'd be good to see if Mike Blakely would want to come on from the United States. It'd be good to see Mike's point of view of how it
absolutely
happened.
would.
His point of view over the border and that. So, but anyway, it's interesting times ahead, mate. Interesting times ahead. So
yeah, the next couple of months are going to be pretty crucial. I think what's happening with the markets is the one thing that Donald Trump, even though he says he's not following it, that's not his DNA. He follows the markets intimately, and he always has. Even before he got involved in politics, like decades ago, he's always been one of those guys that's followed it extremely close.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think
That's my son, everyone, Phil. A lot of people forget the US is in the hole for 36 trillion. I thought it was 32 or something. But anyway, a lot of money. Something had to change. Yes, and it did, Phil. Absolutely. The US.
Yeah.
The US isn't the 36 trillion in the red. And I get where people are going. We can't just keep forking out billions and billions and billions forever to fight a war that may never end. And I think everyone agrees, no matter what side of the fence you're on, Mark, everyone wants to see the Ukraine war finish, mate. That's terrible. There's soldiers dying on both sides. No one wants to see that war continue. And I take my hat off to Trump that he does want the war to finish.
Yeah.
The way he's going about it, I don't know. If he gets the war to finish and he gets them to come to the table and the killing stops, I don't know. I think Ukraine's going to take a big loss in this, but it's better than losing your whole country and losing all your soldiers and that too. But he only just yesterday pushed back on Russia a bit and actually made a comment that he's going to tariff Russia and freeze their assets and all that. So for the first time since he's opened his mouth, something where he was going to pull on Putin came out of his mouth. And that's all people wanted to hear. And that you're not just picking on one side. It's got to be fair on both sides. So whether he follows through with that, I do not know. But, yeah, everyone wants to see peace over there, Mark. I'm sure you do and Canadians do. Ukrainians certainly don't want to keep going through. Only overnight, mate, the Russians were still sending drones and missiles into civilian populations, killed 14. At least the Ukrainians are trying to target military installations. The Russians just seem to bomb whatever they want to bomb. And now the Americans have cut off all the intelligence to the Ukrainians, so they can't get the coordinates and that to drop it on the Russian military assets. So I don't know why you'd want to do that and cut the intelligence off to Ukraine is beyond me.
Yeah,
I don't know why people want to do that.
Like Ukraine's been fighting for 3 years to keep its country, and they're fighting what is basically a modern version of what the Germans dealt with World War II. And by that I mean the way the Russians are doing it. It's just mass bombing, like artillery and rockets, and now we do drone attacks and things like that. I'm not saying it's, you know, comparing the Germans and Ukrainians. It's not, but I mean that's the style. The Eastern Front, which is exactly where they are, is the Eastern Front. But it's that same style of attack and warfare that the Ukrainians have been doing for 3 years. And it takes a lot of casualties, and they're constantly being drained. At some point, they're gonna run out of people. I don't think Russia has to worry about running out of people. They're not losing. I don't know if they're losing more people than Ukraine. I don't think they're being upfront with their casualties anyways. But they can sustain that for a lot longer. So before it really starts to hurt them, even in Russia, this is not unpopular in Russia. It's not like the rest of the world. The Russians don't really have a strong opinion about, this is a bad thing for us. So, I don't think, unless you defeat Russia somehow, then, do you do that by triggering World War III? I don't think anyone wants to see World War III.
Of course not, mate. Of course not.
So it has to stop somewhere, but where does it stop? And if it stops by giving up part of your country, does Trump look at that as a win and say, well, we're going to do that to Canada, so you give us all of this, or we're going to forcibly take it from you? Greenland, same thing. You forcibly take Greenland? If you want to buy it, if you have that kind of money, which the U.S. doesn't, they're $36 trillion in debt and climbing fast. So how much does Greenland cost to buy? Well, if you want to, as Trump likes to say, if you want to do a deal, then how much money are you willing to pay to acquire Greenland? And if they're willing to give it to you or sell it to you, if they say, okay, we'll give you $40 trillion, maybe you take that money and go, okay. Or maybe you say, no, it's our property, and in 10 years it'll be worth $100 trillion, so we're not giving that up. It doesn't, it has to end somewhere, but where does it end? And if he sees giving things up to prevent a stronger power from taking you over and get a piecemeal, because this is already, don't forget Crimea, they've already taken Crimea from Ukraine. Right after the Sochi Olympics, they did that. And then now you're looking at a huge chunk of their property or of their country. So do you take a big piece of that and say, well, it avoids World War III? So you use that argument against Canada and Greenland and the Dutch? Like at some point, the line, you start thinking, well, we'll avoid World War III. If you're China, you can take Taiwan. But, what else do you want? Like, we have to stop it somewhere. You can't have World War III. So you gradually chip away sovereign nations and hand it over to the three biggest countries in the world.
Yeah.
Because that becomes, then you're not a sovereign nation. You're just sitting there waiting for somebody to take you over and for somebody else to say, well, we don't want World War III, so you're going to have to give this up. And then we don't have World War III. Meanwhile, but the other countries, the aggressor, it's up to them to stop and pull out. That's really the solution that people think should happen. But if that's not going to happen, then do you empower dictators?
Yeah, no, mate, I think even if Trump said we're going to take Canada by force or we're going to take Greenland by force, I don't think the American people would stand for that, mate. I don't think they'd stand for it. If Denmark and Greenland were smart, they would probably lease parts of their land to the Americans to build military bases on there and get money from the Americans that way. That could be an option. I'm sure.
Trump wants the minerals. Like, there's a lot of minerals in the north, and he wants access to those minerals. That's why he's not going after Ukraine. We'll do a $500 billion deal or whatever the number is, and you give us your mineral rights. Well, Ukraine doesn't want to give that up. You're like, okay, we're telling us we have to give up part of our country to Russia, who's attacked us, and it's not theirs to have in the first place. And then you're telling us, for you to support us at all, we have to give up all our mineral rights.
mate, remember in the World War II and even the Iraq War and all that, she was all about oil. Now it seems to be about rare earth minerals. Same story, isn't it? But just a different commodity now. But anyway, mate, hey, I've got a heap of stuff to get through here, Mark, so I might bloody keep
I've
pushing
taken
on.
up an hour of your live feed. I'm sorry. Because I'll just keep talking. You guys know me. You guys know I will just keep talking.
I know. I know you can. We talked for 12 hours last time, so we can't do that this time. But, mate, thanks for coming on. I just wanted to get your opinion as a Canadian. And you said exactly what I thought you'd say. Canadians are good friends with the Americans, but you're not going to sit back and let this one bloke bloody rubbish you like that. And whatever. You just stand up, and as Aussies, mate, Commonwealth countries got to stick together.
Yes,
I'd love to see the Commonwealth. Let's make the Commonwealth again.
Don't. I do too. But don't forget, your tariffs are coming because he's going to put tariffs on your oil, on your aluminum and steel. Yeah, that's bullshit.
Next Sunday. I'll be sitting here going whether we avoided tariffs or whether we didn't avoid tariffs. Yeah. I'm not gonna. I don't know. The way Trump's going, he said, "Oh, yeah, the Aussies buy a lot of stuff off us," but I don't know, mate. We'll see what happens. The fact that we just put $500 million down to help them out with their nuclear submarine infrastructure and all that, maybe, I don't know. If it was any other American president, I would be confident that we would get tariff exemptions from the United States. But with this bloke in charge, I'm not so sure, mate. He's got no allegiances to, mate. He hasn't not got that mateship thing. He's a fucking idiot as far as I'm concerned, and I don't trust the guy.
A lot of people have lost respect for him. I realize his diehard supporters never will under any circumstance. Anything he says, everything he does, they'll always just support it. And we have some of those people here in Canada that, they're like, no matter what he does, Trump is a supporter. Trump is doing this. And when we become American, we'll get rid of all this liberal crap. And you're like, but that's not how this works. And what's the guarantee that you're going to be an American citizen? You took over the country. Great. Now you have to apply for citizenship into the States. And we can say no because, you can't just get citizenship. We'll deport you. Like, but to where? I'm a Canadian. My family's been here, both sides, my mom's side and my dad's side, have been here for hundreds of years. So, like, where am I going to go?
Yeah.
What are you deporting me to where? I'm a Canadian. I don't mean I'm Canadian in quotes. I'm a Canadian. This is not only just where I was born, and my parents aren't first generation immigrants, which is something that Trump really has an issue with. I don't understand that one, but he does. They're here legally. So I don't understand your issue. Where are you going to deport me from? And what do I have to do to apply to be a citizen of the U.S.? So if they do that to us, who else are they going to do that to? If you live there, you'll be a citizen. You have to apply for that because we might not accept you.
Mate, Rick said I should send some VB to the Canadians. I'd send it to the Americans.
Don't even bother. We don't need toilet
drain. I'd send Trumpy a carton of VB, but I wouldn't.
That's what you should do.
I'll tell you what I am going to do. I'll try and get you a bottle of Bundy up, and you need to get it to Pierre Poilievre or whatever his name is. How do you say his last name?
Poilievre.
Poilievre.
French name, Poilievre. There's a slight R sound on the end. Yeah, Poilievre.
Poilievre. Make sure you get that bottle of Bundy to him and say, this is bloody nectar of the gods. You've got to import this from Queensland, Australia, and get it into you. And I'll tell you what, the Canadians, you'll be charging over the border within a week, mate, taking the Yanks on. You'll be full of Dutch courage. And watch out, America, if you get the Canadians or the Canucks, sorry.
Canuck. Don't you stop calling it that bullshit box. It's Canuck, not Canuck.
I sent Slack in a thing last night. I went, Canucks, CANOOKS, and he comes back and says it's CANUKS, you bloody diddly dock. It's Canucks, not Canucks. I was thinking of Chinook, the helicopter, mate. Dear, oh dear. But anyway, all right, Mark, thanks.
We say about, not a boot. I don't know.
Boot?
It's not a boot. Americans like to pick on it, say it's a boot, but it's not. It's about.
Well, a lot of that's the only way I can tell, unless they've got that real French accent. If they're from Montreal, you can tell. But your normal Canadian, I couldn't tell the difference between Canadian and American. But that word about or out is what gives it away now. I've finally worked out. But it does. Some of them say a boot. It's
Yeah.
like a real. It's
Yeah.
almost like a Scottish a boot. You know?
Yes, there are people who actually pronounce it that way.
Yeah.
Same thing with coffee. Like in Canada, it's coffee, but parts of the states it's coffee.
Coffee.
Cup
Yeah,
of
that's
coffee.
more
Want
like
some coffee. So if
a
you hear
Boston
somebody else
or
in the states, yeah. Well, actually, I don't know if Mike pronounced it that way or not, but it's coffee. That's just sort of a northeastern thing. It's coffee. Have some coffee.
yeah.
Want some coffee? Here, it's coffee.
Depends where you come from, mate. Depends
Yeah.
where you come from. But anyway, stand by for a bottle of Bundy, mate. I'll send her up to you.
It will.
Give
It will
Robbie
get
a
you
nip. Give Robbie
it
a
will
nip.
get
He'll
drunk.
go to school and knock all his mates out.
Have it with some moose knuckle.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. All right, mate. Thanks for joining in. Stay in the chat room if you want. And we've got a few
Yeah.
other things to get on
I think
here.
I'll have to log out and come back in, but I'll go back into the chat room because I
Mate,
haven't seen anybody's chat. All I've been able to see is you. I don't know any of the comments that have been made. I haven't seen anything. So if you guys have been saying things to me or reminding me of stuff, sorry if I haven't gotten into it. I have no way of seeing it. Thanks, Mike.
Keep your stick on the ice, Slacking. We're in this together.
We are
There you
because
go.
you guys now have tariffs on your stuff from us. So you know what?
Yeah.
We just need to be friends and stick together, and hopefully the leadership will smarten up and they'll figure it out at some
Mate,
point.
no
Because
one's
I know
gonna win
Canadian
out.
politicians. Well, Canadian politicians have been in the States for the past month and a half in huge amounts. Premiers, mayors, the prime minister, the ambassador's been really busy. The foreign affairs minister. There's a lot of people that have been in the States or in Washington. So I don't think the last word on all this crap has been said. I think as much as anything, Donald Trump is watching the markets and sort of using that as one of his gauges. And because the markets are tanking, Boeing, I read that they lost last week one night when they pointed the 6% tariff Canada was, and then also the tariffs that are coming on to the states that they put on us. They lost, I think, 6% market share in one night.
Their
And
market's
Boeing is
crashing.
a huge,
Yeah.
huge military supplier for the U.S.
Yeah. No, mate, no one's going to win out of this. Americans are going to lose. Canadians are going to lose. I can't believe it's happening.
Yep.
There's better
Mexico's
ways.
in the same boat. Like Mexico's in the exact same boat as us. They're getting slapped with all sorts of shit.
Yeah. And they're
It is
going to,
us.
and in winter time, which it is there at the moment, or just coming to the end,
Yep.
a lot of Mexican food goes up there, mate. Avocados, strawberries, bananas, all that the Americans can't grow in winter time. It's going to hurt the Americans as well. They're already blowing up about the price of a dozen eggs. It's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
Brad Howell said this is the longest goodbye ever. All right. See you soon.
No, I don't think it is, Brad. If
Thanks
you
for
were on
joining.
here, the would have started saying goodbye yesterday.
Say goodbye to Slacking, everyone. Thanks for coming on, Mark. Appreciate
Thanks,
it,
guys.
mate.
It was
Good
great
on you,
help. Love you guys. See you later.
See you, mate. Bye now. There you go. Thanks, Slacking. Bloody fantastic to hear. I know that went on for a while, guys. And if you know Slacking, you know he can jibber. He can jibber jabber with the best of them, guys. He put me to shame. But it was good to hear the Canadian side. And we still get the same thing here. Is the Canadians are sticking together, guys. They're not taking shit off Trump, and nor should they. And I agree with what they're doing. They're fighting back economically and that. And as I said, Canadians know that this is going to hurt them real bad. No one wins out of this. No one wins. But there's just one guy there that just is set in his ways, and he just doesn't seem to want to listen to anybody. Doesn't want to listen to anybody. I get that the Yanks are in a hole. They owe a lot of money, and that they've got to bring their deficit down. I get that, and that's what Trump wants to do. But you can't go and shit over your best mates to do it. That's not the way it works. So anyway, Mike, I hope you're well up in Colorado, mate. It's been a crazy 6 or 7. When did he get in? Crazy 6 weeks or so far. He come off and did a few things that I agreed with, and then all of a sudden he's just gone a bit silly. And one thing I don't like, and I said this last week, is all the arse lickers that surround him, guys. And that's what they are, absolute arse lickers. It's sickening when you see all these minions under him and the way they're always blowing wind up his ass. It is sickening. It's like he's got to have his ego inflated. I said that last week without going on a thing. Mike's surviving in Colorado. Good stuff, mate. And let us know if you start seeing any changes, Mike, but probably a bit early yet. The tariffs are on, off. No one knows what's going on. So anyway, let's go on. We've been through the footy. Now, listen, some other news I've heard, everyone, and this has come out of, I've seen this on Fox as well. Elon Musk is upsetting a few people. And the other day, he's come in, as you know, he's Doge, Department of Government Efficiency. Now, listen, I know my son Phil is a big one on this, and he supports Elon Musk. I'm all for going through government departments and trying to find out where money is just being pissed up against the wall. This country needs to have something like that too. Elon Musk has taken it to a whole new level. He is sacking people that don't need to be sacked. And it's almost like he's come in and he come in with a chainsaw, like I'm cutting everything and that. But you've got to sit back and make an assessment and go, is this net, like he's just coming in and go, you're gone, you're gone. There just seems to be no thought going into it. Anyway, it came to a head the other day. The Transport Minister of the United States, whatever that position is called in the United States, his name's Mr. Duffy. Elon Musk's wanting to sack bloody air traffic controllers and all this type of stuff. And apparently Mr. Duffy said, hey, mate, at the moment, I've got 2 aircraft investigations on the go at the moment for aircrafts that have crashed. And you're in here wanting to sack my air traffic controllers. And apparently it come to a head, and Mr. Duffy is not real happy with him. And apparently it came to a head with Marco Rubio the other day, the bloody, what's he called, the Secretary of State. And apparently Trump had to come in, and Rubio and Musk had big words, apparently, behind closed doors. And Donald Trump took Rubio's side, according to the news. So Elon Musk is starting to piss a few people off. And you know my views on Elon Musk. The only good thing about him is Starlink. And next time I activate my Starlink, it's going to be reluctantly, knowing I'm giving that piece of shit money in his back pocket. But Starlink's a good bit of kid, isn't it? It really is. Canadians, the Ontario has just cancelled their whole Starlink order with Elon Musk. Apparently Tesla has taken a massive hit. Tesla cars have taken a massive hit in the last few weeks. But Musk is coming in and he's starting to piss people off, and he's starting to cross the line. And apparently he's had words with Rubio, the Secretary of State, and also this Mr. Duffy, who's the Federal Transport Minister, whatever that position is called in the United States. And he's basically said to Elon Musk, you're not going to sack my air traffic controllers. I said, I've got enough problems on my plate at the moment. We're having trouble getting air traffic controllers, and you're in here wanting to sack them. So he's gone in and put the bloody thing through the Department of Veteran Affairs, and apparently a lot of the veterans are up in arms against him now. Isn't it funny, eh? A bloke who actively fled his country of South Africa to get out of military service is in there with a chainsaw slashing the Department of Veteran Affairs in America. Doesn't really make sense to me. He's a strange dude. He should have just stuck to doing what he does with his spaceships and all that and stayed out of American politics. He's not even an American, guys. He wasn't born there. He was bloody South African. He fled South Africa. Then he went to Canada. There's a big petition in Canada at the moment to rip up his Canadian citizenship. So he fled to Canada to get out of South Africa to avoid military service. And now he's an American citizen and he's in there. So he's not even an American, guys. You know, like to be the American president, you have to be born in America. Well, Elon Musk is bloody South African and then Canadian. Now he's American, like it's his third country. And I think he's just got too much power. He's been given too much power. He's been given too much power. So that came to a head the other day. Marco Rubio and Mr. Duffy have both had run-ins with Elon Musk. Now, 330 properties without power down in southeast Queensland. I don't know if I mentioned that before. 330,000 people or 330,000 businesses and properties. I've seen some news things saying 330,000 people, and then I've seen other say 330,000 properties that come from the Premier. So I don't know which one is correct there. What else have we got down here? I've spoken about Belinda Carlisle, whoever that person was, got booted off the the channel last night for saying unsavoury things about community members. Not on, guys, not on. The Northern Territory Police Minister has been stood down. That piece of shit who had to go against these Northern Territory police officers, saying that they're racist and all this type of shit. Anyway, pictures of him there the other day with his assistant commissioners all painted up in his Aboriginal paint. Well, he's been stood down for corruption. So let's see what comes out of that one. Let's see what comes out. That's what you get for ragging out on your troops down on the ground doing the hard yards. Piece of shit. Another bloke at the top who's out of touch with reality and doesn't know how it works. Western Australia's just had their elections, everyone. And the Labor Party romped it in again. That was on the news this morning. West Aussie had their elections yesterday and the Labor Party has romped it in. Police, did I say the police minister, Brad? I meant the police commissioner, mate. Sorry. Police commissioner, not minister. Police commissioner. If I said minister, I got it mixed up. Sorry. Yeah, I know. And David, if that actually happened, mate, $50,000. I know. And as I said at the start, I'm all for someone coming through and seeing where cuts can be made, legitimate cuts, and go, no, that's bullshit. And we all know the Australian government, that there's a lot of shit there, and we spend money on shit that we shouldn't spend money on. We spend money on countries that could not give a shit about Australia. We need to cut that funding off and put it into something else like health and education and defence, and start looking after ourselves and our South Pacific neighbours. I'd like to see us look after ourselves and the South Pacific and not worry about looking after 50 countries in Africa and all that we've just got no ties with. We need to start spending our money more wisely. It's like you go out and you got $300 to spend. You don't just go and blow it on shit. You spend it on stuff that's more important first. I know there's some people out there that'll go and spend it on camping gear and that, and then go, oh, I haven't paid my electricity bill and I haven't got any money left because I spent it on camping gear. You've got to get your priorities right when it comes to money. And that's what we need to do as a country. But anyway, the Labor Party has just romped it in for the third term in a row over in Western Australia. So anyone who thinks Albo's out of the race, don't think so quick. West Aussie Labor Party just won in a landslide. Okay, so, and apparently the Greens picked up a lot of votes, which is a bit scary, that the Greens have picked up votes over there. So Albo ain't out of it yet, guys. Don't count him out. I hope he doesn't get in, but don't count him out yet. Don't count him out yet. Will Dutton be any better? I hope so. I don't know if he will or he won't. We haven't had a decent PM for a long time, have we? And as I said, I don't vote LNP or Labor, guys. I'm on the fence. I just call it as I see it. If they do a good job, I'll pat them on the back. If they do a shit job, I'll call them out on it. I'm in Cata country up here, and even he's senile old prick and doesn't really make a difference to anything. But if I vote for one of the other parties, it's just a dead vote. You know what I mean? It's just a dead vote. I'm in one of those. Bob Katter just is unbeatable until he retires, which he should do. Until he retires, your vote's a dead vote up here unless you vote for him. I've sent him a few things, but Bob doesn't care about defence and all that type of stuff. He's got his own agenda in that up here, but I don't know. What do you do? The other thing on the news that was quite sad is Gene Hackman dying. It was a bizarre one, wasn't it? But it's coming out that his wife, who was only 65, his wife died of some exotic disease that you catch off mice and rats, and she passed away. And apparently he was in the advanced stages of dementia. She'd been dead for a week, apparently, and he must have been that bad with dementia, he didn't even know she was dead. And then he ended up dying, and the dog that they'd brought back from the vet in a cage was dead. It was a really sad, bloody state of affairs. For a minute there, I thought it might have been a murder-suicide or something, but it wasn't. It was just a really, really sad state of affairs, the Gene Hackman thing. He was a fantastic actor. His best movie for me, he had a lot of them, what was the one where he was in the submarine with Denzel Washington and about launching a nuclear weapon, and Denzel Washington said, no, we're not launching yet. We've lost communication, and Gene Hackman wanted to launch. That was a good movie. Not Crimson Tide. Crimson Tide, was it maybe? Help me out there. Does anyone remember? That was a great movie. Gene Hackman had some really good movies, didn't he? He was a great actor, and it was a sad way that he went. Like an episode of 60 Minutes. Absolutely. Justin, how are you, mate? Hopefully Hugo's okay. I had something written down here about the USA First Amendment, and Australia doesn't have anything in the Constitution about free speech, guys. So I don't know why I wrote this down. It must have been in my brain yesterday. US First Amendment was ratified in 1791. Guarantees freedoms regarding religion, speech, the press, assembly, and the right to petition the government. Freedom of speech, freedom to assemble and have your say, like protest peacefully. Freedom of religion. Don't be discriminated by your religion and that. Australia doesn't have that written into the Constitution, but it is in the Bill of Rights, whatever that is, that protects speech, as long as it's not violent or hate speech. Okay, which is fair enough, eh? So, you know, we do have free speech here in Australia, and so we should have. Should be able to speak your mind, as long as it's not hate speech. You're not promoting hate against a group of people or whatever. That can't be tolerated. And Crimson Tide, I was right. Steve said it was. That was a great movie. That was a really good. If you haven't seen Crimson Tide, everyone, Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman. It's a submarine movie, really suspenseful. They're on an American nuclear submarine. Gene Hackman's the captain, and Denzel Washington's the XO, 2IC of the sub. And they come to blows, and there's a mutiny on the submarine because Gene Hackman gets things about launching a nuclear weapon on Russia just as the communications got cut. Anyway, it's a good movie. I won't let the cat out of the bag. It is a bloody... No, it wasn't Red October. Sean Connery was in that. Hey, Maria, that was Sean Connery in Red October, another great submarine movie. I saw that at the cinemas about 5 times. Red October, great movie. Based on a Tom Clancy book. Really, really, yeah, that Red October and Crimson Tide are 2 really good nuclear submarine movies. They really are. So anyone got any questions? Anyone want to come on and have their say? I said, here we go. My son was all full of wind last night. He wanted to come on and have his say. There it is there, Phil, if you want to, anyone want to come on and have your say. If you disagree with me, you want to have your say about what's going on. Kaz, if you're still on, you want to come on and have a say. Me and Kaz don't see eye to eye on what's going on in the world at the moment. But as it should be, we keep it civil. We keep it respectful. And Mike Blakely, I don't know if you want to still come on. There you go. Mike's just said hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. There's something to do with rats and mice, and it gets into your lungs and all that type of stuff. There he is. Come on, Phil, click that link and come on and have your say. Come on and have your say. That's me son, everyone. Him and me are polar opposites sometimes. We see eye to eye on some stuff. Phil wants to see the war finish, like we all do. We all want to see the war finish in Ukraine. Where it gets a bit messy is, I know people are saying Zelensky's just doesn't want the war to finish and just wants to keep that. I think they've had enough, guys. And hopefully, if Trump can pull off a ceasefire, and get peace over there, then it'll all be worth it. I hope he can do it. I hope I'm backing Trump for that. I hope he can get him to the table. He needs to be he can't go in and just, it's all Zelensky's got to give up everything. Friggin' Russia's got to give up some stuff too. I heard the other day that Australia is still importing fuel that is made with Russian crude oil. I read that somewhere. Tell me that is not so. Tell me. We import 90% of our fuel, everyone. Can you believe that? Because our oil reserves, we are rich in a lot of shit, and oil ain't one of them, let me tell you. We've got oil reserves here in Western Australia and out around Surat and that, but nowhere near enough to run this country. We've got to rely on importing our fuel, which is a bit concerning. 90% of it comes from Asia, mainly Singapore. You know, if we went to war tomorrow, we'd run out of fuel within a week, they reckon. We'd have no fuel within a week. If China blocked our fuel getting down to us, which comes down on ships, okay, it all comes via ship. If they stop the fuel coming down, we are out of fuel in a week if we go to war. That's how serious it is. We need to start building up our oil stocks, guys, and start import oil, but just have some better reserves of fuel down here, because at the moment we don't have enough. Well, Buck give you one of his old barbecue plates. He has 100 of them. Yeah, you're not wrong, Steve. That other one, the one I did a clip on, everyone, the little cook-up, that's a great little barbecue plate from Top End Camp Gear. It's an absolute beauty. It really is. Been going 2 hours on the dot, guys. There's 145 on. Listen, there's a link there somewhere. If you want to come on and have your say about what's going on in the world, there it is there. There's the link. Click on it. As long as stay respectful, keep the language down to a bare minimum. If you don't agree with stuff I've been saying, come on and have your say. This is your chance to do it. A lot of people seem very opinionated in the comments section, and especially on Facebook and all that. So this is your chance to come on and have your say on here. We can have a healthy debate, or if you agree with me or got some good ideas, if you've got a great idea on how the war should go or how we get a ceasefire, anything. If you've got some good ideas, come on and say so. Please go on or I'll come back. If he comes back on, everyone, we will be going for 3 hours. Let me tell you, if Slacken comes back on, we'll be going for another 3. Gidgey's on. G'day. Gidge, how are you? Gidgey's birthday yesterday, everyone. Welcome on. Better late than never. I've been on for 2 hours and Gidgey's just come on. He's probably just woken up. How's the weather? Ken, even if you want to, are you in a position to click this link, mate, and just come on, even if you're on your phone, and just tell us what the weather's like in your part of Brisbane at the moment, any damage you've seen around I know your fence blew over. Anyone else in Brisbane wants to come on and give us a weather update? Anyone on the Gold Coast? Anyone who's received damage? Anyone in Harvey Bay who wants to give us an update? Before I go, come on. I've got the, Timmy Ryan saying happy birthday, Gidge. Hope you're well, Tim. Hope everyone's well out there. So, oil wells in Bass Strait empty and being filled with concrete. There you go, Aussie. Yeah, I remember our SAS boys used to go down and do counter-terrorist drills on the oil rigs down in Bass Strait. So, there you go. We got Dave on. Put that in. Hey, mate, how are you?
G'day.
I can hear rain on your roof. Can you hear me? No, he's lost comms, but I can hear rain on his roof. That's all right.
Yeah.
Get Lauren to bloody here we go. Justin's on.
G'day, mate.
Can't afford friggin' sleeves on his shirt.
Oh, it's actually warm in Victoria. Can you believe it?
And Slacken, here he is, everyone. He's back on. Slacken's back on. No, he's gone again. Where'd he go? Dave, can you hear us, mate?
No, it's frozen.
Yeah, Dave's frozen. Dave, if you can, Dave's frozen up. Come back on, mate. If you can hear me, click the thing again. We'll see if it goes. Justin, how are you going, mate?
Good, mate. Good. We're getting there.
Who else we got? There's Dave again. He's still there. He's back on. Geez, that shit comms, mate. Can you hear me? No, not what. Testing 1, 2, 3.
No.
Come on now.
There we go.
I heard you then, yeah. You're freezing up, mate. I don't think it's going to work. No,
Not working.
freezing up. No, unfortunately, Dave, if you can hear me, mate. Sorry, mate, you're freezing up. We couldn't see you or whatever. Mark's here. Slacken's
Fuck,
back.
it's just a joke. Hey, I told you guys you were coming on. I was going to come back on. This is what you get. Justin, how are you doing?
Good, mate. How are you?
Excellent. I still can't see the chat room. I was just busting balls because nobody was wanting to come on. So I said, if you guys don't come on, I'm going to come back on. So you guys didn't want to come on, so I'm back on. This is what you guys get. This is your punishment. You get me again.
Brad
Julie's
Howell
over
said,
here.
we
She's
love
laughing at me.
you slacking.
I'm not interrupting. I just wanted to bust some chops because, you know, you guys, I love you guys. You're so funny. Justin, I will actually go leave you to your screen time. I just want to say hi.
That's all right.
That's okay. I've
I
probably got a different opinion to everyone with the whole Trump issue, but
That's all right.
go
We're allowed
on.
to have our opinion.
no. I mean, yeah.
Comment. Before we do it, Paulie Martin looked like he was going to log in then. He wants to come on and brag about Manly. Paulie, I saw it come up and then it disappeared, mate. So anyway, while we're doing that, Justin.
Can I say one thing? I actually just want to say one thing. Guys that are in Brisbane, and I'm going to log off because actually I'm not going to take your screen time. Guys that are down in Brisbane dealing with the cyclone, please stay safe down there. I get a lot of the stuff up here, what's going on, and all the guys coming on live. Terry G, somebody made a comment that Harvey Bay is underwater. You know, guys, just please be safe. Justin, it was nice meeting you. So I've actually never met you. So this is as close, I guess, as we're going to get. So screen time's all yours. Thanks, Buck. I'm going back into the chat room. I will come back on. I'm just busting balls, guys. That's all. See you later.
See you, mate. Now, Paulie Martin. We can't see Paul. He's got no screen there. Justin, we'll get you on in a minute. Paulie Martin's having trouble.
Yeah.
A Manly supporter. Can't sort his bloody computer out. Paulie, I can see your name up there, but we can't see you or hear you, mate. I'm not sure what's going on. Something wrong with your iPad or your computer, mate. Anyway, Paul comes on. Righto, Justin, let's hear it, mate.
Well, I think firstly, I think it's hard for us to probably have a definitive opinion on Trump and his party, I guess. And the reason being is that I've got a very close mate in Chicago, a family friend, and also one in New York. And they were over here for 2 months last year. And it's so interesting talking to them about what we see on the news and what they see on the news and the actual current state of play over in America. They are the biggest Trump supporters I've ever met. They hate Obama. They hated Biden. And it got me thinking when they were here and we discussed it, is that we see snippets on our news, but we never really see the full story.
Yeah.
So we never really know the real current state of play over there, I reckon. And after speaking with them, you could certainly see why so many people swayed towards Trump. And I think it was he gave assurances of bringing that country back financially. You speak to my mate Jack and Anthony, and they were very much of the opinion that that Biden and Obama prior, those two administrations had bankrupt the country. And when Trump was in for that initial 4 years between the two, he brought the country right back up. And then Biden comes in and it's just turned to rack and ruin again. I don't think you can blame him completely.
Oh, no.
Just talking to them, it was very interesting to hear Americans' opinions on Trump and Obama and Biden and the Democrats. They've got nothing nice to say about the Democrats whatsoever. And I think that was displayed when Trump did his State of Union speech or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And the Democrats couldn't even stand up for an 11-year-old boy that had brain cancer.
That was poor. That was poor, mate. They don't want to stand up for some of Trump's policies, and I get that, but they could have all united. The young girl that got the bloody volleyball in the head.
Yeah, that's right. And the
young boy. Come on.
Pretty ordinary.
It's just a publicity stunt, but it's still a young boy with cancer, mate. Show some respect. I agree with you totally.
And from whether or not the tariffs are the right thing to do, I'm not sure. I certainly understand where he's coming from. He wants to bring back manufacturing back to America.
Yes.
Detroit and places like that were manufacturing hubs. I don't know if the ship sailed on those places now, because a lot of those manufacturing plants are completely falling apart.
Yeah.
But it did work when prior to Trump being elected, John Deere wanted to move all their assets and manufacturing over to Mexico. And Trump said, if I'm elected, I'll be putting tariffs on, if you move to Mexico, I'll be putting huge tariffs on your products. And they then chose to stay. John Deere then chose to stay in the US because they knew he was serious.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, I think he's right with some of the tariffs, probably not all of them. But I think to bring his country back up financially, and he is a businessman, whether or not he's a smart businessman, I don't actually quite know, because he made money from having money because his dad was rich, let's face it. But over the years, he lost a lot of money too.
Yeah.
But I do think he's got some good ideas. I do honestly believe he's got the country's best interest in heart. It'll just, time will tell whether or not he goes about it the right way, I guess. But fingers crossed we don't get any tariffs on our steel. I mean, that's obviously huge for us. Well,
we'll find out in 3 days, mate, and that's going to be a huge thing for us. And I'll tell you what, if we do get tariffs on it, I don't know. I'm not smart enough to do it, but I'd love to send it and say, hey, Japan, do you want our steel and aluminium? And while you're at it, build our 11 Magani class frigates with it.
And the other issue we've got is we used to import a lot of steel to China, but China's financially, they're ruined at the moment. Their economy's terrible.
People keep saying that, but they keep building up their military. That's what gets me, mate, is people don't. We export our iron ore to China so they can build ships and buildings and all that, and probably building their submarines and their ships with Australia. And then we go and spend $368 billion on American submarines to protect ourselves from China, who are exporting iron ore to. It's just bizarre. It's just bizarre. It's friggin' stupid when you think about it.
Oh, it is. And I think the world's a strange place. It just seems to be full of contradictions and hypocrisy, doesn't it?
It is, mate. It is. Well, China's our big enemy in that. They're our number one trade partner, and we're giving them the iron ore and that to build their ships and submarines. How does that work? It's crazy.
And I think the steel situation in America will be interesting because they used to manufacture their own steel many years ago. It was called US Steel. And I think Trump wants to bring that back. So I'm a little bit confused. Is he putting a tariff on the already manufactured steel and aluminium, or is he putting a tariff on the iron ore and products to manufacture the steel?
Yeah, I don't know how it's working, but
I'm not actually sure.
It's going to affect us, mate. Apparently Canada and Australia, a lot of aluminium. I thought we just didn't make our own aluminium. I thought we just exported the bauxite to make the aluminium. So we don't make it. Steel, BlueScope's about the only bloody steel place that produces steel in Australia anymore, aren't they?
Well, we've got, I can speak for Victoria. I mean, obviously I've travelled Australia and been to some of the big mining towns like Mount Isa, etc. We've got a manufacturing plant down in Hastings, down on the Mornington Peninsula. That's BlueScope Steel. They manufacture a lot of corrugated roofing, etc. Yeah. And then over past Warrnambool, Portland. I don't know if you went that far when you were here.
Yes, we did. Yes.
Did you went to Portland?
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. I like it down there.
Did you see the big smelter? That's actually a big aluminium smelter.
You can see it driving into the town from memory.
Huge. So I guess that's where we manufacture some of our aluminium, or certainly some of the product. But yeah, I'm not sure how much of the actual product we manufacture and then send over to the States. We'll find out soon.
That Whyalla steel plant in South Australia is in trouble, mate, and I think they're hoping BlueScope Steel buys that out. But apparently the maintenance to that facility hasn't been kept up to speed, and it owes a lot of money and whatever. So hopefully BlueScope might take over that. You certainly don't want to see a Chinese company take it over, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, my mate, one of my neighbours down on the peninsula there, he works for BlueScope down at Hastings, and they're currently going through dispute over wages and conditions. BlueScope are making massive money, but they're trying to screw their employees at the moment, which is no surprise. I mean, let's face it, they get richer by trying to screw people over. But
have a look at the banks and that, you see there, all the rates go up and quantity airfares go up and everything, and then you see the yearly profits come out of Qantas and all that, and it's in the billions of dollars, and you think, you pricks are just getting richer and richer, and it's because you screw us over type thing, It's
at our expense. And Qantas is an interesting one too. Obviously, there's not there's not a huge amount of competition for Qantas, and the politicians in Qantas are so closely aligned that they prevented a deal with, is it Doha or Qatar Airlines last year from flying to certain places? Yeah, and that was purely because of the alliance with the politicians. But again, that's to our detriment because it doesn't allow that competition, and that, which in turn produces the cheaper airfares for us. So we end up paying top dollar still.
It's a hard one for the politicians. I know Qantas is like that. It's Australia, mate. It's got the big kangaroo on the tail, and I think we feel patriotic towards it. And that it was probably a hard one for. You'd hate to see how these other companies come into Australia, undercut Qantas, and then Qantas struggle and end up going bust. I don't know.
It's a tough one. I mean, Qantas, we should certainly be very proud of. Andrew and I went to the Longreach Qantas Museum when we were travelling around last. I don't even know when it was now. Everything's a blur at the moment. But and the history there was amazing. We should be so proud of that. And I think more and more, if people get the opportunity, they should go and see that museum. It's fantastic.
We had Rafa, so we actually saw the big plane out the front and everything, and the Stockman Hall of Fame. We didn't go indoor, but next time we had Rafa, mate. So
makes it hard.
One day when we haven't got Rafa, we'll go in and actually do that. But you couldn't take a dog in there, and as you know, mate, when you got dogs with you, you're very limited as to what you could do. What did you do with Connor and Hugo, mate? You had them on that.
It was actually a cool day. So we were parked in the shade under that big hangar where the plane was, and we just left the windows down a bit, and they were fine. It wasn't warm at all.
Yeah,
so we got lucky. So I certainly understand what you mean. We've had to bypass quite a few places because we've had the dogs. As you know, when we were up visiting you last time, you and Roz graciously looked after our two for a day so we could go and see a few things.
No, it was all good, mate. They're great dogs and that, and we're all the best. Fingers crossed for Hugo, mate, that he's bloody
Tuesday's the big day, so.
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
Thankfully, we've got a world-class surgeon. He's a surgeon that has a lot of degrees, but he originally started over in Washington DC and has now moved to Australia probably 15 years ago, and he's world-renowned. So I think we're in pretty good hands.
One of Justin's dogs, Hugo's guys, got cancer. So we wish you all the best there, mate. Nothing worse than your best mate having troubles. I know you're upset about it, but we wish him all the best anyway. Rafa wishes him all the best, and
thanks, mate.
Let's hope there's some good news comes out at the other end of that, mate.
It's been a tough time. I think it's been a tough time over the last month because not knowing, but now we know. We've got a plan moving forward now, so we're a little bit more optimistic.
Anyway, mate, good luck with that. You know, we love you two dogs and a thing. No tariffs on Rafa books, Marky Lavelle reckons. No, we got a free trade agreement with China, mate. So Rafa books will have no tariff on there. We're going to be selling the books when they get here for a $10 profit, and every cent of the $10 goes towards charity. And speaking of which, Jordan Glennon is on the road at the moment, so Jordan can't join us. But Jordan's just been up to Mackay, everyone, and has passed over $4,500 to his two charities, both in donations so that they can get rescue animals and get their immunisations and everything up so that they can find foster homes. And also he spent a shitload of money with the pet barn or whatever down there and got food for both his shelters. And you'll see that on my Facebook page coming up soon, guys, where Jordan's been up and done all the charity stuff, and Jordan boosted it up from 4,400 to 4.5, and he's spent every cent for his two animal shelters in Mackay. And keep your eye on my Facebook page for that. There'll be some stuff coming out, and Jordan with a little certificate and photos with all the food at the pet barn and all that. So you know your money got to where it was supposed to go. So, which is absolutely fantastic. So, yeah, Dave came on before, and mate, if you're still watching, Dave, you froze up, mate. We couldn't hear you. Paulie Martin, we couldn't see or hear you, mate. I could see your name come up on the bottom. But I think you're only coming on to hang shit on me about Manly toweling the Cowboys up last night. The Aussie rules kicked off yet, Justin?
Yeah, Geelong was meant to play the opening game against Brisbane, but they cancelled that due to the cyclone. There was two games meant to be played up in Brisbane Thursday or Friday night, I believe. So we had Friday night we had Hawthorn and Sydney at the SCG, and then today we've got Collingwood and someone else, two irrelevant teams that I could care less about. So I've got to strip a few things off my car today because I got a phone call from Toyota saying my new one comes in 2 weeks, and I've got to sell my old one now quickly.
You get the new 250 Prado?
Yeah, that's well, it arrives next week, I believe, and then they just got to do a few bits and pieces to it for me. So,
Mate, we'll do a live feed with you one night once you've had it for a while, and
Yeah.
I'm interested to see your opinion on it. No, the only thing I know, that 48 bolt thing in the back, you can't put drawers in, or like it really takes the space.
I've been thinking about that. You've got that. I got the 5-seater, so the step up's not as big. The box at the back's actually a shorter height. So I'm thinking about just building one single drawer myself, and then on the other side putting a sliding angle fridge or something in. So then I still maintain a bit of height. But if I manufacture my drawers myself, they don't have to be too big. So I'm thinking about making those myself, and time will tell. But I mean, we're fairly comfortable with the decision. We went and saw Mornington Toyota, and the salesman said, "Don't just take it around the block." He said, "Take it for an hour." He said, "Come back in an hour and a half, drive it up some dirt roads, do whatever you want." So Andrew and I took it for an hour and a half, a couple of dirt roads and up some hills, some decent hills in Frankston and Oliver's Hill and places like that. And we were pretty impressed. But long term's going to be whether or not we're impressed.
Apparently they don't like puddles. Hey, Jace, I'm going to bring Jace in. He's been sitting down in the waiting room for a couple of minutes. Hey, Jace, how are you, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. How are you going?
Good. I'm going to add Paulie Martin in too, but I can't see you, Paulie.
There we go. G'day, Justin. How are you, mate?
Nothing working.
Mate, how are you?
Paul's got a rough head, everyone. He looks better like that, I think.
Oh my god.
Paulie, say something. I can't even hear you. Yell out.
Hello.
Go the Sea Eagles or something.
Nah, it's stuffed. Got a new one.
Well, I can hear him.
I got a new computer. I'm still playing around with it.
Right. Don't play around with it too much. It'll fall off, mate.
Hasn't fallen off in 6 years, mate.
If we say turn your camera on, try and find your camera settings and turn them on. Oh, Jordan's here, guys. Not seeing Paul after last night isn't the worst thing. Pissed off his team won. Jordan Glennon, yeah. G'day, Jordan. And I was just telling everyone about the charity thing, mate. So good win to the Sea Eagles last night, Paulie. You absolutely trounced us, mate.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's happening. It's not working, so I'm going to turn it off.
All right, mate. Thanks for trying. We'll get you next time, mate.
Yeah, mate.
See you, mate. Sorry about that. Jace, how you been, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Just been busy at the new job and uni and the kids and trying to fit everything in is a bit hard, as you know, mate. But still going. Like I find that my weeks just fly by nowadays. I'm just so busy all the time. Yeah. And all of a sudden, we're in the middle of March now, and it's not too far away from the weather starting to cool down a bit. So no,
that's right. It's not really cooling down here. It's as hot as buggery and that. Hey, Justin just told us, and I agree with what Justin is saying. I know Trump's come in and he's tried to do something to sort his economy out. He's got to try and put America number one. Got any thoughts, Jace, on what's happening?
Yeah, so I have
the bloody
quite a few thoughts. And look, I'm not as educated on all this stuff as what you are, if I'm honest.
I'm not educated on it either, really.
But I actually don't mind what he's trying to achieve, but I just don't know if he's going about it the right way. I didn't think that whole meeting with Zelensky needed to be televised the other day in front of the whole world. Look, I don't really know too much about this minerals deal, so I don't know whether that's got a lot to do with it. But look, the biggest thing for me is that, look, our current prime minister, I actually think he's an all right bloke, like as a person, but he's a complete fence sitter. And he just wants to fart ass around, beat around the bush, not offend anybody. But as far as Trumpy goes, he, as far as I can see from an outsider's point of view, he's every promise he took to that election, he's delivered on a lot of them. There's been a lot of things that I don't necessarily agree with, but I've never actually seen it in my lifetime a elected official actually come in and actually do what they have said they're going to do. So I think the American people are getting what they elected, which I think is a very good thing.
Yes.
As far as resolving the whole situation, like this conflict's been going on for 3 years. There's been unnecessary loss of life, and I don't think continuing it is the answer. I think eventually I don't say Ukraine winning. I think it's either cut your losses now in terms of territory, in terms of population, or lose. From my understanding, like there's a massive Russian population in Moldova, and they've got their little breakaway area there called Transnistria. And my big worry is that if he is able to take over Ukraine, then he's just going to try. He'll try and annex Transnistria and try to make an even greater claim on the area. So I do think there needs to be a deal done, but I don't necessarily think that Putin should have a say in whether Ukraine is allowed to join NATO or the EU. For me, that's up to the Ukrainian people what they want to do with their country. He shouldn't have a say on who their president is, like regardless of whether he gets along with him or not. That's their country. What else have I got here? And maybe the answer to me is those breakaway areas there that he's annexed. So is it 5 provinces or so? Maybe that needs to be the new buffer zone between the west and the east. I don't know.
I think it's going to be, mate, and I agree with you totally there. The only sticking point here is, I think Ukraine's ready to sign a minerals deal. Ukraine will probably be willing to give up some territory, I think.
Yeah.
But the whole thing Zelensky's worried about is, who's to say Putin won't kick it off again in a couple of years?
Well, that's right.
At the moment, Putin hasn't come out and said this. Well, maybe next week in Saudi Arabia, some more information will come to light. But at the moment, you can say, right, you can have this. Who's to say in 2 years' time, he's not going to have another go and take more land? And that's exactly what Zelensky was trying to say the other day in the Oval Office. But his English isn't great, and he was having trouble getting his point across before he got friggin' ambushed by JD Vance, the piece of shit. But anyway, yeah, we'll see what happens, mate. We'll see what happens. But they're in a lose-lose situation. And I know Trump said you got no cards to play. I get where Trump's coming from then, but Zelensky said it's not a game of cards. We're talking about my country here too. So Ukraine just can't lose everything. Someone's got to make Russia concede something as well, and there's got to be guarantees that there won't be another invasion. How do you stop another invasion? Make Ukraine part of NATO. Yeah. And then if there is another invasion, then it's going to be on. But this is the whole idea. This is why Putin said he invaded Ukraine, because he didn't want NATO on his doorstep. So we're going around in circles type thing,
This has been going on for so many years, though. More than just the 3 years since it started.
Oh, it's been going on for over 10 years. But since, what did Phil say? He went on Slavic news channels a few days ago. Is that Putin you're talking about, Phil? Anyway, there's some more talks in Saudi Arabia next week, fellas, and let's hope something happens. And I do agree, Trump seems to be the only guy who can at least, if Trump wasn't in now, it'd still be America trying to get more money out of Congress to send more weapons to, and we're still in the same situation we've been in for 3 years. At least Trump is trying to stop the war, and everyone wants that. I think everyone secretly, I think Russia wants it too. Putin's not a deal. He knows how many troops he's losing. He's losing between 1,000 and 1,500 men a day.
Yeah.
There's a bit of talk at the moment that all Trump's after is a Nobel Peace Prize, but the reality is that if he can bring this war to an end, he's half a chance of actually being awarded that.
He might pull it off. I tell you what, he should get. He lay down Mazar to get the Diddly Donk Award. Dead set. And as I said, and I agree with you, Jace. When he came in, he said when he was saying, "I'm going to do this." And for the first 2 days, he's signing executive orders, going, I'm doing this, and he was doing exactly what he said he was going to do. And I was sitting back even going, bloody beauty, only 2 genders. You can't
finally
shit down kids' throats at school and all that. I agree with all that. No men in women's sports unless it's a mixed sport. You know what I mean?
No men in women's toilets.
All that type of stuff. And most people agree with all that. And he was signing all the things. And then all of a sudden, this is where I turned on him. He came out and he started having a crack at Canada. Now, he's trying to, as you said, he's trying to bring manufacturing and everything back to the United States. But to start talking about Canada becoming the 51st state, referring to Trudeau as governor and that, mate, that's just shit talk. That is just garbage talk as far as I'm concerned. It's disrespect.
Things to me I think he's done very well in the business environment, and I think he's trying to apply. A lot of people in business can see things working really well on a spreadsheet or in their head, but in reality, things don't really work like that. Like this thing with Gaza, taking all the people out of Gaza and turning that into some mad resort thing. Like
that was another one. Everyone just went, what?
Yeah.
Like, just bizarre.
I think what Trump does is, sorry to cut you off. I think what Trump does is he says some ridiculous things, some not so ridiculous, but he generates conversation, not only in America, but achieves the generation of conversation all around the world. And I truly believe it's all part of his plan to try and commence bargaining to obviously better his country, to let other countries know that he's not going to be bullied. And let's face it, we know he's not going to be bullied. He's probably a bit of a bully himself. But I think it's all part of his grand scheme to generate conversation around the world. As ridiculous as some of it is, he knows it. But let's face it, we're all talking about it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, mate, he's turned the world on its head. He's got no filter, Trump. He's got absolutely no filter. Brad's saying, imagine having a leader that does what he said he was going to do. And that's what we need. Dutton needs to come out and needs to say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this, 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 and this. And if he gets elected, within the first week, people see he's doing that, and that. And that's exactly what Trump did. We don't sign executive orders and all that shit down here. Maybe we should. But he sat there and signing executive orders and go, there you go, comply with that, or you're going to wear the wrath of the federal government. Like it's anyway, he's done some good stuff. He's done some good stuff too, I think. But we're all divided on the Ukraine thing. I think what we're not divided on is everyone wants to see an end to the war. How that happens, I do not know. I wish I had a crystal ball. But
one thing too is that Trump's not pro-war either.
No,
which is surprising, and he openly says it. I'm pro-peace. I'm not pro-war. I don't want war, which does surprise me, because you would almost think that he's someone that would be happy to push the big red button, but I don't think he would unless he has to.
He got out of it, so we know he's not pro-war, and being pro-peace is a good thing. Like no one wants frigging wars, but the trouble is, wars have been since the dawn of man, and you have a look at all the wars over the years, the Romans and all that. And here we are in 2025 and there's still wars going on. Humans
Most
just
of them,
mate. We never learn.
most of them generated by religion. Shit's
Yeah,
not-
a lot of it is. Yeah. Well, we can't say the Ukraine-Russia war's religion. They're all
No,
the same.
no. That's an exception.
It would be a good world that we lived in where you didn't need a defence force. You didn't need armies and navies. So that, wouldn't it be a wonderful world if we could all get on? But that's never going to happen. We know that. It will never happen. There's
Right.
too many races and religions and all that. This planet will never, ever get on with each other. And unfortunately, we need a strong defence force, and the Australian Defence Force isn't up to speed. I keep saying that. And we need, as much as I'd love to see all our money get spent on education and health and infrastructure and all that type of stuff, unfortunately, we have to spend money on defence, and we need a strong defence force.
Oh, I meant to mention to you as well. I've had my house down on the peninsula since 2007. You'll laugh at how slack this is. And Andrew and I, about a month ago, went to Point Nepean or Fort Nepean for the first time since we've had the house down there. Slightly embarrassing, but when you're down next, remind me to take you down there. It's where the first shot was fired off in World War II. They've got the fort where at the heads to stop the potential invasion from Japan.
What was invading us down there? The Tasmanians.
No, they were worried about the Japanese at the time and the submarines. But it's amazing. The whole fort's set up. You can walk down through the tunnels. Amazing, brilliant. I'm embarrassed I hadn't been there since we'd moved down that way.
That's like that Fort Scratchley in Newcastle, mate.
You got it's Fort Nepean, then you've got the quarantine station down there as well. There's a lot to see down there. So remind me if you get the chance to come down in the near future. We'll pop down there and have a look.
We're coming down in 2026 to the high country, mate. Don't know if we'll get to Melbourne. We might have to scoot around Melbourne again like we did last time. But anyway, Mike and it's good to see Mike Blakely and Slacken haven't killed each other in the comment section. That's good to see. Dave Hunter's on from Thailand, guys. G'day, Dave. How are you? Hey, Dave, is all this stuff making news in Thailand, mate, on the news? Is it making big news, or does everyone not just give a shit in Thailand about what's happening in the rest of the world?
I think the whole world would care because the US dollar affects everyone, doesn't it?
Yeah, let's say I can see people saying Ukraine's not our fight. I know if you're a European, you wouldn't be saying that because it's I don't know. It all used to be one country. Once it used to be the Soviet Union. Ukraine and Russia used to be the same country. Now they're fighting. You've got Yugoslavia. Then you had the Serbs and the Croats and the Bosnians all fighting. Just too many different nationalities and that in one small area over there. It's bullshit, you know.
I wonder if Putin's trying to claim back some land because years ago the Soviet Union sold Alaska to the US.
Yeah, he's
probably angry about that too.
Well, when the Ronald Reagan got how did the Soviet Union ever split up? I didn't think I'd ever see that in my lifetime. Yeah. The Soviet Union split up, and it's split up into now a lot of the countries that were ex-Soviet countries, Lithuania, Estonia, all them, they're all very anti-Russian now, and they don't want to be part of Russia. So there's a lot of ill feeling there in those countries. So anyway, we'll see what happens down the track. I better get going, guys. It's been 2 hours 38.
Me too. I've got work to do.
I've got shit to do too. So yeah. Anyway, Phil, do you want to come? Yeah. Anyway, guys, thanks for coming, Justin. Yeah, thanks for your input, mate. I agree with a lot of the stuff you were saying there. I think you can kind of see where Trump's going sometimes.
Yeah.
But then you think, I can see what he's trying to do. And then he just comes out with a doozy. He just comes out with a doozy out of left field, and everyone goes, where did that come from? Where did that come from, Trumpy?
4 more years of entertainment, I say.
Oh, dear. Is he going to appear on the Epstein list? He was good mates with Epstein, eh?
Oh, there'll be a few worried, I think.
He was best mates with Jeffrey Epstein. I wouldn't be surprised if he went on that island. You know what Trumpy was like? He was a bit of a womanizer in his day. Would not be surprised if he was on that island up to no good. Anyway, that's conspiracy theory stuff. See you, mate. Thank you.
I'll talk to you after Tuesday.
Yeah, mate. Let us know how it goes. Good luck with everything.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, mate.
Yeah, Jace, say good day to your dad for us, mate. Hope he's well.
Mate.
Yeah, no, it's good. No, it's a good point, mate. I agree too. It was good to see he said, I'm going to do this, and he came out and he did it. And I totally agree with that, mate. And I wish we saw a bit more of that down here in Australia. Politicians say, I'm going to do this, and this, and they come out and do it. And you're right about Albo, mate. I think he's a nice person at heart. He tries to be everyone's mate, and he's probably the type of bloke you could sit down and have a beer with. I don't dislike Albo. I don't dislike the guy. But I think we need a stronger leader that can make a decision. And sometimes you've got to make a decision, everyone. It's not always going to be a popular decision that everyone will agree with. But we need a politician that's going to make a decision that benefits the majority of Australians, not the minority. It's got to benefit the majority of us. Okay? You're never going to make a decision that 100% of people will agree with.
No.
That'll never happen, especially this day and age. Everyone's got their own points of view. But make a decision that benefits the majority. And I think if you stick to that policy, you'll go a long way as a politician. You really will. Don't bow to the minority groups. Help them out where you can, but certainly don't bow down to them. That's not an option. That can't happen. So, yeah. What did Mike Blakely saying? The US Attorney General is currently scrubbing Trump's name from the Epstein files. Maybe. We'll see what happens. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you who is a bit pissed off about the Epstein files is Joe Rogan. He was on there last night going, why haven't they released the Epstein files? They said they would. They need to release them. But anyway, there'll be some – everyone wants to see – just because you went to Epstein Island doesn't mean you're a bloody pedophile and – you know what I mean? Like, I agree. A lot of people went to that island just to see what it's like and whatever. It doesn't mean just because you went to that island doesn't mean you're up to no good. But we'll see. Anyway, now here you go. Phil, hit the link. Come on. My son, he's very opinionated. He wants that. Come on, show your face and have your say. Come on and tell us what you're thinking, mate. My son, very pro-Trump. And whatever, but come on and have your say, Phil.
I've seen some of his comments on Facebook and that, and the thing that I actually will give you guys a lot of credit for is that, right, you guys have completely differing opinions, but you know, you are willing to, even though you don't necessarily agree with the other person's opinion, you've always got to accept that somebody has an opinion, and everyone's entitled to that too, you know.
Opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got one.
Right.
Saying, mate, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've had people go, if people don't agree with your opinion, Buck, you block them off your channel. Bullshit, I do. I only block people off the channel that are shit seas and people like that. And I'll say it now, guys, if you want to come on the channel, make sure you put a face to your name. Make sure you don't come under a fake profile. If you want to have a say on my Facebook page, have a say. Keep it respectful, but be so I can send you a message or whatever and go, oh, I don't agree with you on that. But a lot of people come on, mate, under fake profiles. They block their profiles. There's no photos of what they look like. You can't message them. They're weak as piss, mate. They come on, they have their troll, they have their say, and they set it up so that you can't say anything back to them. And those people are fucking gone from now on. I'm not going to tolerate it. Put a face. If you want to have a say, put a face to your name. Man up. Don't be a weak prick. And I always do. I not troll, but I have my say on other things. But if people want to go, who's this Mr. Buccaroony guy or Paul Rod, there's a picture of me there. And they can send me a message if they don't agree with me. And that happens sometimes. I've had some good arguments with people and I've had some full-on, it started off ugly and we end up messaging each other and end up seeing each other's point of view and leave each other on a bloody thing. So anyway, Jace, I might get going because I think Brad Howell wants to come on and my son looks like he might come on if he can get his camera to work on his iPad.
Mate. Just lastly, go the Knights.
Hey, only just got up over the Tigers, mate. Only just. Anyway, thanks for coming on, mate, and thanks for your point of view.
Yeah,
And
mate.
I agree with a lot of what you're saying, mate. I really do. It was good to see a politician say he's going to do something and he doesn't. And that's Trumpy, mate. Trumpy, he does it. He says he's going to do something, he does it. But he comes out of left field with some doozies that no one's expecting. And everyone goes, holy shit. Maybe there's a method to his madness. We'll soon find out anyway. If he can get peace in Ukraine and it doesn't kick off into another war, then it'll all be worth it, won't it? But we'll see what happens down the track. All right, mate. Thanks a lot, eh?
Righto, mate. I'll have to give you a ring sometime soon as well. I'll chat to you later on.
All right, mate. Thank you. Bye now.
Cheers,
All
mate.
the best. See you. So I know this is going, we'll go to 3 hours, guys. I won't go any more than 3 hours. I've got to go and help my neighbour out, put a roof on his shed and all that type of stuff. So anyway, so if you're in the flood zones, guys, I hope you're doing well. Dave Hunter, here he is over in Thailand. Someone who can actually get his thing. G'day, Dave. How are you, mate? Saxon Overland, if you don't know his YouTube name. How are you, mate? Can you hear me?
Yeah, good. I can hear you. How are you?
Good, mate. Whereabouts in Thailand are you?
Oh, down in Pattaya, Summit, in the, the hard parts.
Down in Pattaya, yeah. What are you doing with yourself, mate? Give us a quick update of since you've left Sydney. What have you been doing, you and the family?
Yeah, so I left that. I was working for a Korean pharmaceutical company for a long time in Sydney, 5 years nearly. Got offered a redundancy deal with them, and it was just a time to do something myself. So I started my own pharma consultancy business, and yeah, something you can do remotely from anywhere in the world. So, yeah, but before living in Australia, we were there for 8 years. I lived in Singapore for about 5 years before that. Had a good community of expat friends and that in Singapore, and quite a lot of them moved to Thailand over the years. So it was kind of like a bit of a ready-made community for us to join. So that's why we chose to come here, and been here 8 months already. Absolutely loving it,
mate. And cost of living's a lot cheaper than Sydney, eh? That was a silly question.
Yeah, much cheaper.
Wow. Are you renting there, mate?
Yeah, renting here. We've got a really big pool villa with a massive pool out the back. And it's about less than half of what it was in Sydney, put it that way.
Wow, there you go. Yeah. And so your work doesn't involve Thailand, mate. It involves, but you can do it remotely from Thailand.
Exactly, yeah. Still working with Australian companies every day, but do it from here. So usually an early start for me. I start at 6 or 7 in the morning, so the time difference isn't too bad. Yeah. And it lets me finish work about 2 in the afternoon, which is great. So I can go and have a beer.
Hey, I'm going to just bring my son into the chat. G'day, Phil. How are you?
Hey, how you going?
Yeah, good, mate. I don't know if you've got that on potato mode or something, but it's anyway. We can hear you and see you, okay, mate. So no, that's all right.
Potato head, mate.
We'll get your opinion there in a minute. What I do want to ask Dave, mate, while we got you on, Dave, with all this stuff that's going on in the world at the moment, and you've got to be. There's a lot of shit going on, with Ukraine and all that. Are you seeing a lot of that on the news over in Thailand, mate?
Yeah, very much so. It does make the news in Thailand because if you know anything about history, the Thai kingdom is one of probably the only countries in the world that hasn't ever been taken by another country. It's been Thailand for its entire history. And that's just because geographically it was like a border between East and West. And the Chinese never wanted to come across and through Thailand to invade the West. And the West never wanted to go the other way. So it was like a natural border. And it's always been here. It's always been the Thai kingdom. But obviously the world has changed now with sort of this nuclear threat. So Thailand is looking after itself and making sure it stays neutral. It doesn't side with anybody. And they are doing a lot of military action here. They've got a lot of troops in Thailand because obviously labour is cheap. So a good move is to join the Thai army if you're a young lad. And they've got a big ground force, and Thailand's one of the richest countries in the world. People forget that. People think it's a third world country, but it's not. They've got plenty-
it's far from being a third world country, mate. Don't worry about that. It's good day, Brad. How are you, mate?
G'day, mate. How's things? Hey,
Yeah,
everyone.
good. We'll get on and have a chat with you and Phil on that in a minute. But Dave, your thoughts, mate?
I think that, like, I am a Trump supporter. I do feel the thing with Zelensky and JD Vance the other day was completely out of order, to be honest. To put him on show like that and stitch him up, I thought was bad. But other than that, I think Trump's getting everything right. He ran on a promise that he would put America first, and he's done that to the word at the moment. His approval ratings are through the roof in America.
Thanks,
no other president for 35 years has come close to the popularity. And he's delivering for Americans. So I know that pisses everyone else off, but I mean, being originally from the UK, that Keir Starmer's the biggest piece of shit in the world at the moment. So
there's a lot of bombs don't like him, mate. Eh?
Yeah, he could learn a thing or two from Trump for sure. And following Australian politics for the last 10 years or so, I think Albanese is probably one of the weakest prime ministers Australia's ever had as well.
Yeah, I was going to do polls. I forgot it. I've been so busy talking to people this morning. I was going to do polls and I forgot all of it. Maybe next week I'll do polls. And one of them was going to be, who's the weakest PM? Albo, Turnbull, or Rudd. I wouldn't put Gillard in the bottom three, Julia Gillard. But you're right, mate. I think Albo's got a good heart on him. I think he's I think he's a good human being, as in he cares about Australians and all that. And he does some stuff I agree with, but we just need a stronger leader, mate, especially in these. I don't think he's got what it takes when these tariffs kick in 3 days, if they kick in. And if Trump starts treating Australia like Canada, I think Albo will piss his pants, mate, and we could become the 51st state before Canada. Because Albo has
the problem I think with Albo, right, is the level of people he's leading in Australia now are weak as well. So when you mention those other weak Australian PMs, you had people like yourself still working every day. You had Brad running his business every day. Strong Australians that put up with weak leaders, but would only put up with it to a point. And they were gone soon, like Gillard was gone in no time and things like that. Nowadays, you've got Albo leading a bunch of, so diverse Australia, so woke now, that they'll just follow him down any tunnel. And that's what really worries me, If there was a war, what are all the men like you and men like Brad would have stood there, and Phil would have stood there with a gun and defended Australia? What are you going to do with all these fucking baristas in Sydney? What are they going to do to defend Australia, right? That's the worry. So,
I know.
So they're the ones that vote him in.
They'll throw bloody hot, frothy foam in their face if they attack the Chinese.
That'll be it.
Yeah.
It'll be all over in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I know, mate. It's we live in it's a worry, and as I said, they can't get people to join the police now. Can't get people to join the army, and that is it because these young kids now are just being brought up to, and I keep saying it. I'm Gen X. Brad, you be Gen X as well. Dave, you Gen Y or Gen? You reach your 80?
I was born Gen Y. I was 77. I was born, so I don't know. Coming up 50.
No, you're Gen X, and Phil, you're Gen Y. And I keep
No, I'm
saying,
not.
I think
No, I'm
Phil,
not. I'm a millennial.
Yeah, which is Gen Y. It's the same thing, I think.
No,
Yes.
Gen Y is the next one.
Is it? I thought you're the last hope we had. Whatever
No,
you're.
Series 1 millennial, 84 I was born.
Oh, right. I thought that was Gen Y, whatever that. But Gen Z onwards, it's a worry. Do not era, Nutty's era, and that. Yeah, it's all right. We're going to pack of baristas. I love that, Dave. That was the comment of the live feed so far.
Love it, Dave. Love it.
And you're on the money, mate. You're exactly right, mate. You're exactly right. And as I said, I like to think my generation was tough, but I'll tell you what, I was nowhere near as tough as my dad's generation, and certainly not as tough as my granddad's generation, because we're going back to light horse World War One era, mate. So we know how tough that generation of men were.
Well, I mean, on generation, I always remember this quote, and I just looked it up because I think it's right. It says, hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. And weak men create hard times. That's
exactly what must have. You read Brad's mind. He was going to bring it up too. Exactly right.
And it shows you where we are. Where we are in that cycle right now is weak men are creating hard times.
Well, maybe Trump's not. You certainly wouldn't call Trump a weak man. No way.
No, because he's that generation before, right?
Maybe
your Macrons and your pussy leadership like that.
Yeah.
I mean, Keir Starmer has spent most of his life as a human rights lawyer. So basically, getting anyone that's been persecuted as being coloured or black or an immigrant or illegal immigrants, he's done his best to get them everything for free. Now he's leading the country. He's not the right person for it.
Oh, your toughest ever prime minister, mate. Thatcher.
Yeah, she was the Iron Lady.
What a tough old bitch she was, mate. No one messed. She stood up to anyone, Margie Thatcher.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy. And once again, from an era of just tough people, mate. And people respected Thatcher. She was just the Iron Lady or something they called her. Yeah.
The Iron Lady, yeah.
Tough leader, mate. Tough leader. And I liked her. I really liked Margaret Thatcher, especially during the Falklands War, mate. When the Argentinians went in and took the Falklands, she just activated the British Army and Navy and said, "Down you go," and sort them out like she did.
My family come from like the low end of working class, right? So couldn't afford private houses and stuff like that. Couldn't afford to own properties. And when Thatcher was there, she let the working man buy their council house, their property, gave them a pathway to owning something. And then my family went on and sold that and moved into a private house, right? But she got people on the ladder that could never get on the ladder. And what you had to give back was you had to work for the country. You had to give hard work and make the UK a good, strong country. You had to do your bit and pull your socks up and pull your weight as a man, a working man. And you had to do that, and you had to build something for your family. And nowadays, how can people get into the same position in Australia? I mean, I had a good job there, and we didn't buy a house because I didn't really want to put down a $250,000 deposit in Sydney for a property. I didn't have a mum and dad in Sydney that I could use their house as a guarantee for my house.
Yeah,
and I was earning $300,000 plus a year.
Wow. I know, mate, and you hit the nail on the head there, and I know Phil will totally agree because Phil has said almost the exact words to me not long ago, Phil, that if you go out and you work hard, you should see the rewards for it. And Brad, in my day, mate, we had that chance, and you and Mary worked hard, and you reaped the rewards of working hard. I don't think the younger generation now can say what we did. You go out, work hard, and at the end you'll see something for it. You'll own your own house. You'll still have some money in the bank. These younger guys like Phil and that just busting their guts, mate, just to live week to week. And exactly what Dave was saying. It's like just on 300,000 a year in Sydney and still just living week to week, mate. Like you can't afford to buy a frigging house. And how does that work? How do we get to there? Anyway, that's something, Brad, you can talk about soon. And I know Phil saying that. Phil earns good money in the coal mines. And he said, I feel like I'm just going to work to pay the bills. Yeah. And it's just, at least we get something to show for our hard work, Brad. I don't know if the young ones now, Dave and Phil's era onwards, how the hell can Phil's kids, Ellie and William and that, I don't think they'll ever be able to buy a house if it keeps going the way it's going. Phil, what are your thoughts?
I think that brings us back to our point. Is that's why there's such division. So many people want change in the world. Is because like the golden era, it's over. Like them good old days that you talk about, they're gone. My generation, my kids' generation, like we're not going to pay a house off working 40 hours a week while, the other half stays at home to look after the kids. Like that, them days are gone. Like everyone's doing long hours, shift work, trying to hustle, and still just treading water, getting nowhere. And I think, people are sick of it. People had enough. There's got to be a light at the end of the tunnel for your hard work. And I think that's what's pushing a lot of change is people want to see their kids do better than, what they had. And at the moment, it's not looking like that. It's it's just going downhill and it's getting worse and worse. The cost of living, it's getting worse. I mean, it's getting to the point now, it's cheaper to get Uber Eats and go to the supermarket and buy a bag full of groceries and cook something. It's like, and that's just one little point of the issue is that, when I even talk about the housing market or what young people are paying in rent, I know people that are paying for just an old shitter. They're paying, over $600 a week just to rent a shitty old house.
Yeah,
it's just nuts. The world's gone nuts, and something needs to change in order to give people hope. And to see someone like Trump and Elon come along and actively, are they doing everything right? Probably not. But are they trying to change shit? Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
and I think that's what's won a lot of people over is because before them two come along, there was no one else. No one else gave a shit. All these people running the show, they don't give a shit about the working or the middle class or the young people. They're more worried about, peddling to minority groups and what they worry about fucking electric cars or, what fucking acronym they go by or whatever. There's no, like the main guts of working class and middle class Australia or wherever it is you live, there's no voice. We're just going to work, paying tax, paying bills, while people that probably don't work as hard have all the voice. And that needs to stop. That needs to change. And we need to give some hope to our young kids that are coming through school now that they can work hard and they can get somewhere. Because right now, I don't see it. I don't see anything happening.
I agree with you, Phil, and that's exactly why Dave is sitting here talking to us from bloody Thailand and not Sydney. So he's
I get that.
Yeah, exactly right. So,
I think the headphones just cut out. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I can. I can hear you.
Right. All right.
Yeah. No regrets, Dave, about going there, mate. Everything's going well.
No, we're loving it. It's really good.
Good on you, mate.
It's like living on holiday, to be honest. It's like living on holiday for the last 8 months, but still working. The little one's in school. Saxon's 5 years old, comes home, learns new Thai words every day. It's incredible.
Yeah. Is he learning Thai and English, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, good stuff. How good is that? And it's sad as an Aussie, Brad, seeing a mate here that's come over from England to Australia for a better life and that, and now I'm seeing him, he's gone to live in Thailand. It's pretty sad to see.
Yeah, and that's what's happening to all the good people. It's exactly what Phil said there before, and that is that you just seem to be working just to exist. There doesn't seem to be any hope anymore, but there is definitely hope. I think we've got to band together and we've got to oust this government that we've currently got, because all they're doing is pandering to the minorities. They're throwing money left, right, and centre like drunken soldiers. I don't know. I mean, I look back to the days, and you could remember it as well, of the Paul Keating and Bob Hawke days, and I remember Richard Carlton, who was one of the most aggressive interviewers of our time, a journalist. He sat down there one day and in an interview with Bob Hawke, and he said, "So do you think you've got blood on your hands?" It was around that Hayden Hawke leadership spill within the ALP. And Hawke came straight back at him and he said, well, I can see your bloody attitude hasn't gotten any better. You know, we need politicians like that, not like Albo saying about the, you know, nothing about the Chinese, let alone anything good or bad. Oh, yeah, no, well, we sort of kind of knew they were there, but we really didn't do anything about it. You know, what an absolute pathetic joke. He should have had a couple of our subs out there, a couple of our Navy frigates out there mirroring these bastards. Even though they're in international waters, we would never have been permitted to do something like that in Chinese territorial waters, not necessarily, you know, in their waters, so to speak, but in their off their coastline. You know, only days before the Chinese Army Air Force had dumped flares in front of an Australian aircraft.
You know, that's on.
You know,
yeah, he came across as weak there, and he did get called out. A lot of people called him out as being too weak on that.
Yeah,
Brad. Phil come up with a good idea. We should have buzzed him with a couple of EF-18 growlers, jammed all their radars and that, and then sent a couple of F-35s over the top just to let them know that we're here.
Yep.
But we didn't. We just looked weak in that. We really did. It wasn't a good look anyway. So, did you hear about that on the news up there in Thailand, Dave?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, and I think the Navy is probably the biggest part of the Thai defense force. So they're very strong on like Chinese warships and things like that in the area, and they would have done exactly that. They would have put some planes up and sent a message, no doubt about it.
Well, Vietnam do, and Philippines, Taiwan, and then they come down to Australia and we basically piss our pants. So, yeah, you know, you just got to, you don't want to go poking the bear, as I said last week, but you've got to show some sort of strength, mate. But what concerns me, Brad, is we got to get rid of this government. Will they go, Phil? Do you reckon getting rid of the Albo and getting in the LNP party will make things will get better under that? You've got no any of them either. I know that.
I hate them all. I just hate them all. I think it's a two-headed snake. And you know it's one or the other. Like Albo will go. I'm tipping, but is the other guy any better? I don't know.
Well, I don't know, Brad. Dave, you still got a vested interest in what goes on down here. Do you reckon Dutton would be better, Brad? We'll let Dave have a play there.
I think he's a stronger man. I think he's probably more in line with like Trump's policies as well. And right now in the world, I think it's better to have someone aligned with a Trump than an Albo. And for me, I still can't forgive Albo for that 100-odd times he said on TV that he would, you know, uphold those tax breaks for higher earners. And then his first week in power, he just cut that. So, you know, Albo's first week in politics, he took about $10,000 out of my family's mouth, basically.
Oh, did he really? Yeah.
In his first week. So I know it sounds a lot of money, and I know I might have earned a lot of money, but I've spent a 25-year career to get in that position. Yeah. Why should I give 52% away?
Yeah, exactly right, mate. And once again, it's sad, but here you are sitting in another country now because our country just wasn't worth staying in. And you're not Australian, mate, so you didn't have to stay there. But it's sad, mate. It's sad that you've had to move overseas, and would have been good to see you still come to the camp and events and doing all that type of stuff. Did you sell the bloody Delica or whatever, did you, before you left?
Everything's gone. The dot's gone.
That was a sweet vehicle, mate. I reckon that would have got snapped up really quick, eh?
Yeah, it did. It didn't take long.
That was a slick bloody, a real slick vehicle, that one. So anyway, I don't know what else to say, guys, except we're in some troubled waters at the moment. Let's hope. I know you keep saying, Phil. Let's hope we find some peace in Ukraine, Russia. Let's hope China doesn't start bloody invading Taiwan. We're in uncertain times at the moment, aren't we? We really are. It's a bit scary.
The thing that worries me most with like an Albo and supporting the Ukraine is, I was talking to Brad in the chat about it, is how long before Australian troops are on the ground defending Ukraine? And none of us want to see that, right? I mean, it's all right sending money and missiles and everything like that, but when we start getting body bags come back, will we want to support Ukraine then?
Yeah, and exactly right. I'll tell you what, it's going to take them years just to demine that country. It'll take them years to demine that country. Albo said he's willing to put troops over there. Dutton said not. I don't agree with sending Australian troops over there, mate. I don't know until we see what happens there. What's going to happen?
I don't know if you've seen that footage I put up the other day. I don't think Facebook let me put it up.
She was pretty brutal.
It was brutal. It was of the Spetsnaz, the Russian special forces, and like I watched that video a couple of times and just went, you know, that's badass. You know, I'm not. I just want the war to stop. But one thing I know for sure is I would not want my son going over there to fight them blokes.
No
way whatsoever.
You
think the thing of the Bushmaster all blown to shit. Like, they're a very capable vehicle, as everyone knows. You know, they're designed to withstand IEDs and mine blasts from the Middle East when they were originally designed. And these things are coming out like a burnout car down the back of Townsville here. You know, they're not standing a chance. This is a brutal war where people have just been, it's a meat grinder, like what they've been saying. It is a literal meat grinder of human bodies, on both sides. And if someone needs to go over there and cut a deal with Putin and Zelensky in order to stop people dying, then that's what has to happen. Like, we can't just keep funding them and enabling this war to go on. Like, it needs to stop. It needs to stop today. And whatever happens.
Let's hope Putin bloody is willing to concede something too and come to the table. He's the rogue. He's the black sheep here.
I know, and there's no winners out of this. There's no winners. Everyone loses. And the sooner everyone can get on the same page and end this madness over in Ukraine, you know, like I know. You know, I don't want my kids going over there, join the army, go and fight them blokes. No way.
You said it earlier, Buck, as well, right? Ukraine used to be part of Russia. So you only got to go back 2 or 3 generations. Most Ukrainians actually feel Russian in their heart. So, I mean, in a way, I can see that Putin, that's been in power for a long time, what's he got left to achieve in his time as, you know, the leader of Russia, other than to unite Russian people that want to be, you know, still considered Russian? It's a very deep political thing that I think a lot of us Westerners don't understand. But I'm not sure that a lot of people in Ukraine actually want to become Russian again. They do. They're Russian in their hearts, and their families.
On that eastern side, apparently in Donetsk and Luhansk and places like that, apparently a lot of them think they're Russian. That's how this all shit started, mate.
Yeah, and living here in Pattaya, right? There's tons of Russians living here in Pattaya, and tons of Ukrainian, and they get on great. Absolutely no difference. There is no problem here whatsoever. They are one community, and they all support each other.
Oh well, that's interesting to hear, mate. I thought there would have been a bit of, unlike the Israelis and Palestinians here in Australia, Brad, that bring their shit down here. Well, there you go. There's, that's interesting to hear, mate. I thought, geez, it would have been on for sure.
No, there's never been one issue.
Oh well,
local news or anything, and obviously they would jump on that if there was regular problems, and there's not. Everyone gets on great.
Yeah, well, there you go. I thought there would have been some, at least some bloody, I don't know. They obviously don't get on the Bundaberg rum and let them near each other.
Fireball, they're on the fireballs.
See, beyond then, bloody hell.
Just going back to that whole Zelensky-Trump thing in the White House the other day, one thing that Trump said, he will always bring these things to the fore, and he won't be secretive about it. He'll always let you know what he's going to say and what he's going to think. Those sort of incidents used to happen in back rooms. Apparently, it came out the other day that Biden gave Zelensky a dressing down because he said that he was going to send so many $1 billion there, and Zelensky said he wanted more. And Biden more or less give him a serve. If he could remember what he was talking about for long enough, probably he could have. But at the end of the day, you want a leader that's going to be transparent and going to say and do these things out in the open. And that's what I like. I like people that stand up for what they believe in. He's got a clear mandate, very, very clear mandate from the American people to go and do what he's doing. And of course, you're always going to find that there's going to be 48, 49% of the population that's not going to agree with you. And the same thing will happen here in Australia, absolutely. But at the end of the day, I want someone there that is going to stand up and they are going to say what they said that they were going to do what they said that they were going to do. And they're going to be transparent about it. Not this whole slinking around the background. You know, the age-old thing is I used to say, to people, I'm never going to stab you in the back. You're going to see it coming. It's like what Tony Abbott said one day about Putin. He said he's going to shirt front the guy. He's not going to slink around.
I remember that.
Yeah, and he's not going to slink around and stab the guy in the back. He's going to stab him in the chest. You're going to see it coming, dude. And I use that as a metaphor, obviously. But
that was over that MH17 getting shot down over Ukraine, remember? And there was a heap of Australians on it.
If that's what it was about, that's the time, And he said he was going to shirt front the guy, and I think Tony Abbott was probably more of that type of personality, even though he sort of talked fairly quietly and whatnot. I think he sort of had those punch it in the face type thing, and I remember being at school, there were always bullies. We never had social media back then and mobile phones and all that sort of stuff. So people said things like that behind your back. And then when you went and confronted the bully, it generally ended up in a stink. And then the bully realised that you weren't a pushover. And then the bully backed off because that's what bullies do. And I think to a certain extent, Trump is probably a bit of a bully. He's spent his entire career in business doing things like that. So that's what he's used to and it works for him. But I think at some stage a bully gets punched in the face hard enough, and is it Mike Tyson that said everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face?
Yeah, Mike said that.
I think that's reasonably apt. I think that sort of suits what's going on here to a certain degree.
Yeah. Well, Canada's fighting, but Canada's not bloody taking his shit, and nor should they. I don't agree with what he's trying to do to Canada either. I think he's being very disrespectful to them, and I don't know. As I said, he's done some really good shit, and every now and then he just does things, and you go, "Where did that come from?" But anyway, that's Trumpy. That's how he operates, and if he gets peace in Russia and Ukraine, then we'll be sitting there going, "Well, look at that! But he's the only bloke who could do it." So let's hope he does. Let's hope he gets some peace going. But will we get hosed over on tariffs before I go, guys? Dave, you reckon he'll hose us over on tariffs?
No, not Australia. I don't think so.
You reckon he'll give us a reprieve? Phil, do you reckon Trumpy will impose those tariffs in 3 days' time?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't want to go on the internet and say yes or no. I'm not sure. I don't know.
It's a 50-50. I don't know if he will. Brad, do you think he will?
Yeah, I think it's a 50-50. I tend to err on the side more of probably he won't. He won't impose the tariffs is what I'm saying. Who knows? I mean, we're about to, buy, if the government changes hands, we're about to buy, another 28 or whatever it is, F-35s off them. We've got, 7 Virginia class nuclear powered submarines coming.
Three plus we're going to be building 8 of our own.
Yeah.
Plus we just $500 million for their shipbuilding infrastructure and that, so that they can keep up with the Virginia class submarine thing. So
yeah,
we're in a surplus. We're in a surplus with them, or they're in a surplus with. We get more of them than they get off us. So maybe there's a chance. We'll see. If but then again, He may not. The way he's been operating, he's got no mates. He does it's all business. Like he won't go, oh, the Aussies are good guys, I'll look after them. He'll make it a business thing. It won't be about who's me mates are type thing. He doesn't operate like that.
He may even try and influence the next election results by working with potentially Dutton on easing the tariffs and more or less punish the Australian people if Albanese gets back in. He may even try and do something like that. I wouldn't put that past Trump. I really wouldn't. And I like the guy. You know, I like him to a certain extent. There's some things I don't agree with him on, but mostly I wish our leaders were more like him. I wish they were forthright and stand up and just, you know, draw that line in the sand and say, you shall not cross this line, you know, and be forceful about it. Don't be lily-livered and, you know, as Dave said earlier, what are they going to do? Throw their hot foam from their lattes all over them, you know? Let's not be like that, you know.
I think we've got to be careful of Trump, mate. I said it last week. You accept a favour in prison and the payback's a tenfold. And if Trump does us a favour, he's going to want something back tenfold. We've got to be very careful how we
as a country, we shouldn't have to rely on people. And I think that's what Trump's trying to sort out too. We shouldn't have to rely on the US or China or anyone. We should be, if we'd been managed properly for the last 100 years, we would be a world superpower, and we're not. Australia's just become everyone's little bitch economically. We've got the largest iron ore deposits. We've got the largest coal deposits. We've got the largest agricultural land in the world, and still we're all broke. We're all broke, and everyone's got our head over a barrel somehow.
Yeah, we have been mismanaged by both sides of the government. There's no doubt about that. And I don't know what you were saying, Phil and Dave, that our kids need to get a break, work hard, and be rewarded with a house and a good lifestyle when they retire. I don't know. I think, are those days gone? Can we bring it back? Can we have a Margaret Thatcher come in and bloody give our kids a bit of hope, like she did over in England, as Dave was saying? I don't know.
But the lessons of that need to start at school, right? Kids need to start understanding, like economical lessons need to come in about how to save the money for a deposit on a house. That's what they should be learning in math lessons. Put it into a context of, this is what you need to earn to save your money for your house. Not have lessons about whether you might be a boy, but maybe you feel like a girl. So let's talk about that. You know, that's the wrong lessons at school nowadays.
Absolutely, I agree totally, mate. I agree. And there's a lot of shit our kids get taught at school, and you think there's a lot of stuff that they should be taught and they're not. So, and anyway.
I think one thing to remember too, Buck, what happened from our generation to where we are now? And you know who I think is responsible for it mostly? Our generation. We've allowed it. We've allowed this to creep in. We've allowed this to creep into our schools, and we haven't said anything. Because then all of a sudden, what would be the worst thing that, and I've often talked about this, what's the worst thing that a man could be called? The P word, right? I won't say it because you might get blocked or whatever. The P word, right? That's the worst thing. And then they started calling us things like that. So people from our generation just went, you know what? Just recede. Just don't say anything. Otherwise, they'll just scream at you. And that's what the left does a lot. And they will stand there and they will scream in your face until you submit. And so you just sort of you creep back in yourself and you just go, okay, I won't do that again because I don't want to be called that, because I'm not. I don't want to be called the M word. You know, I don't want to be called the R word or an S word. I don't want to be called any of those things. So what tends to happen is we just tend to regress and we just tend to go back in ourselves and not say anything. But I think now that the time has come, and especially now that I've seen the actions of these woke organizations over in America, you know, the likes of you know, when Elon Musk bought Twitter, he went in there and he said that he found that, I think they called them the Twitter files at the time, and basically said that, you know, they found emails from the government that said you will absolutely suppress this speech around the C word that we battled there for a couple of years, right? So we'll and we will punish you if you don't. And then the likes of Mark Zuckerberg does exactly the same thing, and they transfer, you know, to their woke DEI policies and all these sorts of things. Who was standing in the front row of the inauguration, or one of the rows of the inauguration, but Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah.
Are you serious? Like, what's he now? Flipped camps again? And I think
I know.
Trump's good at doing that.
Yeah. No, exactly.
You know?
Someone said something about immigration. We need to put a big pause on that for a while until we get our country back under control. We need to put a pause on that big time until we get our housings. Phil Taylor, I think, said that. Absolutely, Phil. We need to. I'm all for immigration, letting the right people in. On my dad, let the right people in.
People that are conducive to our societies.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Poms and the Yanks and Canadians and
the Greeks and the Italians and the Polish and all the people that came here, the new Australians that came here after World War II. Look, what a fantastic country that we have. You know, if it's not for those people that want to tear it apart, I don't understand the ethos of I left there because it was bad, and I'm coming here because it's good, but I'm going to bring all the bad things from there to here. I don't understand that. I don't get it. Why would you did it well? You'd leave one shithole and try and create another shithole here? I don't get it. I just don't.
You know, the Greeks and the Italians did it the right way, Brad. They came over here. They kept their culture, but they became good people and contributed to this country, mate. The Greeks and the Italians bloody got a lot to do with this country being a great multicultural type thing. They bring their culture, but don't bring your bullshit with it. And the Greeks and the Italians have been wonderful for this country. They really have. There's probably a lot of other people that do too.
I think a big problem with immigration in Australia right now, though, comes back to this generation of parents with kids in school age between, say, 20 and 5 years old and 20 years old, right? Because we're all telling their kids that they can become nuclear scientists and own businesses and that. No one has any value in the service industry type jobs anymore, right?
Yeah.
There's no kids growing up in Australia thinking that I want to work in a restaurant, and I'm not saying they should, but if every Australian feels that they don't want to do the jobs that need to support society, then immigrants have to come in and do it. Who's going to do it? You know, every young lad wants to be a tradie, riding around in a Land Cruiser 300 with a big canopy on the back, and Dave's electrician company and earning 300k. It's a great dream, but there's not enough of those jobs for everyone. Someone has to do the work, and we're telling our Australian kids that it don't have to be them anymore. You aim high, and that's going to be a problem down the road for sure.
Yeah, but they won't ever get there, Dave. That's the problem. And the reason they won't ever get there is because they don't know how to write their own name by year 8. They don't know how to read. They don't know how to spell. They don't know how to add numbers together. They've got absolutely no idea. So realistically, they're telling the kids that, but they're not giving them the essential tools to be able to get there. So anyone can be anything that they want to be, realistically, but you've got to have the education. This is something that you cannot get through to these kids. And I say it again, it's my generation that has allowed this rubbish to creep into our schools, where we say things like, oh, well, if it looks good enough, it'll be okay. It's I notice, Buck always spells correctly, always, uses correct punctuation, things like that, because that's how we were taught. And if you didn't do that, I'm not talking about a metaphoric kick in the backside. You got a literal kick in the backside if you didn't do that. If you submitted an English assignment and the spelling wasn't right and the punctuation wasn't right, then you got a big fat F. Go away and do it again, and this time do it right. And you did it right until you got it. You did it until you got it right. It wasn't a case of, oh, well, that's good enough, that's okay. No, it's not good enough. Because you look like an idiot when you can't do that sort of stuff as an adult.
We won't get better if we have that attitude. You won't get better. You won't get better. Anyway, lads, someone's on there, Nathan, saying 3.5 hours, get off. So we might have to do
Mr.
that.
P.
Mr. P would be up there throwing shit at his computer because we've been on too long. Anyway, lads, thanks for coming on and having your say. Phil, we'll have you on again, mate. You've got some good ideas, mate, and I like the way you think. I know we clash on some things, but I agree with you on just about everything you said today. Like we've got to do something. Like Will and Ellie, we've got to give them hope, mate. You know, we've got to give them hope.
That's right. Not everything's a conspiracy theory.
No, not all, but you've got some good ones.
All right. I'll see you later.
Yeah, see you later.
Phil.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Dave, come on again, mate. It's been good to chat, and mate, all the best up in Thailand, mate. Good to see you again.
Cheers, guys. See you soon.
See you, Dave.
See you, Phil. Yeah, Brad, thanks for coming on, mate. It's good. Always good to have your input on things. And
Slacken was putting shit on me, mate. He more or less goaded me into it.
It's good. As I said, a lot of people thought today it turned into a big shit fight and everyone arguing and that. It's not what it's about, guys. It's about people coming on. And I'd like to make this a regular thing. Not so long, obviously, next time, but people come on and have their say. Everyone's got a different opinion, and every now and then, Phil, like you just sit back and listen to other people's side of things, and you think, yeah, I agree with that. You know, like Phil's worried about his kids, guys, my grandkids, that they need to be able to give them hope that if they leave school and work hard, they can get a house and have, you know, and when they finish their 40 years of work or whatever, they have a nice retirement like you and Mary are having, Brad, and all that. Everyone deserves that, mate. Work hard. And I'm saying that we're not just giving it. You work hard for it. And everyone does. If you work hard for it, as Dave said, go out and work hard and bloody you should be rewarded. But our country's not like that anymore. There's just no rewards at the end now. Everyone's just bloody going to work and trying to make ends meet. And it's got to, I hope Dutton can do something to fix it up, Brad, because we're not going in the right direction, mate.
No, mate, we're not. And we haven't been for a long time. And I don't know whether it'll ever get back to, you know, our old days. I said to my middle bloke the other day, Adam, I said, mate, I wish I could take you back to 1980 just for a week to see what it was like to not have, you know, social media, to not obviously not have internet, and just exist for a week back then and see how different it was for us back then. And I think that would probably make him understand a little bit more where I come from, because he and I, the same thing with you and Phil, he and I don't see eye to eye on a lot of things. And I said, you know, one thing you've got to understand, mate, I said, I grew up in a different time, a different era. And I know that sounds cliched, but it's very true. You know, we grew up in a different era. You know, we grew up, you know, realizing that, you know, no one's going to stand there and hand something to you on a silver platter. Get out and work for it. You know, no one's going to stand there and go, oh, here's $1,000. Let's go. You know, and this is where the government tries to buy votes. And I don't agree with that at all. You know, it's like leaving Dracula in charge of the blood bank. You know, I remember, if I can just quickly finish, there was remember around the baby bonus days, you know, like I think it was $5,000 or something. We had a customer come into work and we were talking about that. And he was an older guy and he said, I've got a young family that live across the road from me. And he said, the little fella, who was about 4, I think at the time, he said he was more like, he saw me as sort of like granddad, you know, and he came over this particular day and he's gone, Pete, come over. I've got something to show you. And Mum had just had a new bub, right? So he thought that the little fella was going to take him over to see the new baby, which he'd already seen, but he wasn't going to burst his bubble. You know, he went over there and he opened up the front door and he said, look what we've got. And what was sitting in the middle of the lounge room floor was a pallet of Jim Beam and Cola cans stacked in cartons. I don't know how many there were, to amount to a certain amount, but I'm tipping that they probably spent the whole lot on grog. Now you tell me where that was money well spent.
Yeah.
And the kids are running around without shoes on.
Yeah, I know.
And the fam, you know, the mother and the father are smoking cigarettes and doing drugs and whatever else. What hope have those kids got? Seriously.
Yeah, I know. And Australia's full of people like that now, Brad. And that's another thing, mate. Australia is full of, ask Gidgy, it's full of shit seas. And it is. And everyone now, well, not everyone, a lot of people out there just want everything for nothing. No one wants to go out and work hard for it. And that's where we come back to that same point. If you don't want to work hard for it, you go nowhere. Oh, Brad's gone. Brad went. Sorry, Brad. I don't know how, Brad. You go out and bloody, if you work hard, there should be rewards for it. And there's not. If you don't want to go out, you want to be a lazy prick and sit back and do nothing, then you should go nowhere. But if you work hard, you should go somewhere. Anyway, guys, Brad, I think Brad did that, not me. Thanks for tuning in for nearly 4 hours today, 3 hours 35, 3.5 hours. It was a long one. We went off track a bit, but it was good to have people come on. We talked about all sorts of stuff. It's all topics that affect all of us, everyone. So always welcome you to come on in the chat room, have your say in the chat. Come on, have a live say. You see people were just coming in. I didn't know who was coming in today. Come on, have your say. If you've got some good ideas or you agree with me, you disagree with me, come on. If you disagree with me, that's fine. But say why and then go. It's like the old, you're at work and you go to the boss and go, this is fucked. It's bullshit. And the boss goes, why? Why? Because of this, this, and this. So, all right, how would you fix it? What's the solution? Oh, I don't know. Not my job. If you want to go up and whinge about something, do it, but have a solution and say, I don't think this is the best way. And this is how you contribute to your workplace. You go up to people and say, I think we can do it better here. This is shit. It's not working. I've got a better idea. Say to the boss, go up to your boss. Don't be frightened to go up and give him your ideas and that and say, why don't we do this? And that's something I've always done, especially in the prisons and that. If I thought something could work better, I'd say to the supervisor, I reckon, why don't we give this a go? Sometimes they'd say, yeah, all right, let's do it. Or sometimes they go, no, it's got to be done this way because of whatever. And you go, oh, okay, all right, so don't just gob off, have a solution as well. There you go. There's a bit of bloody thing for you. G'day, Em, how are you? Burko, thanks for your input today, mate. I've seen you've been active in the chat room, which is fantastic. Mike Blakely from Colorado. I thought him and Slacken might go fisticuffs today, but they're not. They've been very, very good. The Canadians and the Yanks, they're still good mates. It's just the governments aren't getting on well at the moment, is it? Oh dear, I don't like the way Canada's being treated at the moment. I'm sorry, but maybe it's me put me Commonwealth hat on, and I'm sticking with me Commonwealth brothers. But anyway, I know the USA is very divided. Very divided, as it is always when Trump's around. It's always very divided. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. When Trumpy's around, there's always something to talk about, isn't it? He always makes things interesting. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I've got to go out and help my old neighbour put some things on his shed, guys. He's a bit old to be doing it. So hopefully me and the other neighbour, we're going to go over and throw these things on his shed for him so he can get his shed built. All right, Lukey Reed said, get off. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, everyone. I'll leave you with this. Has anyone seen Snorky's, Rob Richmond's, I forget the name of the thing now, the new Legends for Charity AI film clip with me playing the piano and the guitar? I'll tell you what, I've put 30 kilos on in that film clip. I'm not that fat in real life, let me tell you. I'm not slim, but I'm certainly not that fat. It looks like I'm about 150 kegs in that thing. I looked at it and thought, Snorky has stitched me up. Has anyone seen it? It's a disgrace. And seeing me sitting there playing the piano, oh my God, as if on the guitar's not bad enough. I can't even play that. He's got me on the piano as well. clocking in at about 150 kilo, and I'm 100. See you later, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. I know it was long. It went over time, but we'll see how we go. If we can do another one next week, pick some different subjects and all that type of stuff. Quick weekly wrap, see what's going on in the world. And if you ever want to come on and have a gibber, you're always welcome. See you later, eh? Bye now.